Good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. I hope you're all doing well and you've had a good start to the week, because it certainly wasn't a good end to the weekend, was it? Another drubbing, another defeat, another game where we didn't keep a clean sheet, another game where we've lost yet another player because of two yellow cards, and things aren't looking good at the moment, are they? And I did a show on Sunday. I did the reflection show on Sunday, and for the first time, I'm not one that kind of knee jerks when it comes to things like managers and player. Well, maybe a player here and there, here or there, but I've always tried to back a manager. I've always tried to back a head coach, and try to see the better side of what the head coach is trying to do. But even I'm a bit confused now with Julian Lopetegui, and I don't know where we kind of go from here. I'm still giving him, because it's not up to us at the end of the day. So all we got to do is just assume how long he might have, and I'm still giving him till probably at least the end of December to see how things fare. If any of you watched the reflection show on Sunday, I did a comparison of him and Manuel Pellegrini, where I said by roughly the end of December, when he was sacked, Pellegrini had overseen 19 games in the second season he was in charge, and he only won something like 5 and lost 10 and drew 4 or something like that, whatever it was. And Lopetegui is halfway to that target, so to speak. 10 games, he's only won 3. I'm talking about league only. He's only won 3, he's drawn 2, and he's lost 5. So it's literally half of the number of games, half the number of wins, half the number of draws, and half the number of defeats that Pellegrini had when he was sacked. And if things keep going the way they are, I suggested that I can't see Lopetegui lasting any longer than 19 games. Now, I know a lot of you already will say, well, we shouldn't wait that long, etc. And it may be that if he loses the next 2 or 3 games in a row, then that sacking may come sooner rather than later. And from what we understand, and there's an awful lot of rumors that knock around. From what we understand, there's already, managers or head coaches or whatever the hell you want to call them already being sounded out as potential replacements for him. So I guess we'll see how things pan out. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on. I'm going to sort of brush over the game, and I'm just going to bring you up to date on all the various West Ham news as well. But before I do that, of course, if you are new to the channel, if this is the first time you're tuning in to the West Ham Voice, then do yourselves a favor and become a subscriber of the channel. Why not? If you're either a new subscriber, or you're just passing through, or if you're an existing subscriber, click that like button as well, because whenever you click the like button, YouTube loves all that, and it does me favors by elevating the channel. But let's go into your chat and say hello. Big Si, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Would prefer Keane and Noble taking charge rather than those 3. And the 3, of course, I've suggested is Potter, who else? Potter, Turgic, and David Moyes. Would it surprise you if David Moyes came back for a 3rd time? I don't know. Prefer Noble and Keane? No. In all honesty, Noble's a legend for West Ham, but I don't think even he would want the task of managing West Ham at this moment in time. Epic, good evening to you. I hope you're well. You never know if a manager is going to work out or not. No one expected Nuno to have this success at Forest. You've just got to sack the old manager and take a punt on someone else. Doesn't he look good? And when I did the preview about Santo, now a Nottingham Forest fan corrected me, and thanked him for that, because when I did the preview, I looked up the details of how Forest playing, because you don't normally focus an awful lot on other teams. Just so much focus on West Ham, you don't really follow what other teams are doing, formations, etc. And I sort of did a bit of research, and it suggested that Santo was adopting an awful lot of what David Moyes did. A sort of a low block, hit teams on the break, etc., using their wings, counter attack and all that sort of stuff. And a viewer, a Nottingham Forest fan, said, "Well, we don't do the low block. We do it's more of a mid block." But and thank you for correcting me on that. But look what it's doing for Nuno. You wouldn't have thought after his failure at Spurs that he would have been able to take a team like Nottingham Forest all the way to third in the league. And let's be honest, they've actually got good players. They've got a good squad. I remember a season or two ago, we were kind of laughing at Nottingham Forest, saying, well, who else are they going to buy? They seem to be hoovering up everybody. But now they've settled and they've got a really good manager at the helm. And well done to them as well. I think they deserved their win at the weekend. William, good evening to you. Who would you take as next head coach? I genuinely don't know. Of the three that have been suggested, Moyes, Potter and Terzic, it would be Terzic for me. I don't think Potter is the saviour. I think Potter would be a bit more of the same in a way. And I know everyone's going to go, well, hang on a minute, look what he did at Brighton. But I'll keep referring back to when Potter left Brighton. Not so much that he failed at Chelsea, but when Potter left Brighton, they brought in what? They've had two managers, De Zerbi and whoever it is now, and they've both done really well. They've got a system, a formula, a mechanism in place at Brighton that all you've got to do is plonk a coach in there and he should just keep that wheel churning. So I don't think it was Potter. Potter obviously has got to train the team, has got to coach the team, but Potter not for me. Terzic, why not? Bit of a long shot, and why not? I mean, you never know. He might turn out to be a really good coach in the Premier League. And as we know, he knows West Ham. He was under Bilic when Bilic was manager of the club as well. Moyes, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if David Moyes came back for the third time, but I don't know if that'll happen. Matt, good evening, mate. Feels like most of the fan base is Lopetegui out. I did have high hopes because I wanted us to succeed and do much better. Not a fan of the rumours saying Everton is a must-win to keep his job. Well, that's apparently the minute you get that backing from the board and then you hear, but Everton's a must-win game, you start to put two and two together. I actually don't think, even if we lose, he'll be sacked. It's possible. It's very possible. But I'm not so sure he will. However, when we come back from the international break, we've then got Newcastle and Arsenal. And if we lose against Everton and then we lose against Newcastle and Arsenal, then I think he'll be gone. Matt again. I definitely felt like the win against United was going to kickstart our season, but how wrong am I? I disagree with fans, how they say we're in a relegation battle. We're not. Totally agree. We're not in a relegation battle. I think that's way, way too soon to say that. And in all honesty, if I'm going to be really nasty, well, not nasty about the other teams, there are three teams at very least who are much, much worse than we are at this moment in time and probably for the rest of the season. Good evening to you, Ray. Good evening to you, Shaky. Good evening, Toha. I hope you're well. I think I was on time, wasn't I? Good evening to you, usual. Brentford won up with a pile driver of a goal. Oh, good to that. Who are they playing? I've forgotten. I don't know. Graham, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Hugely disappointed display, but yet again this weekend, surely win, lose or draw against Everton, he has to go so that we can get a proper coach in during the international break. I do not think it will happen. I might be wrong, but I don't think it will. Who else have we got? Let's say hello to people. Good evening, Hammer84. I hope you're well. Hammer 84 again. We got to see who's free, who's old, and who's on the Salt House register. That is disappointing, but I'm going to come to the head coach that we thought we should have had in a minute. So bear with me on that. Daniela, good evening to you. Noble doesn't want the manager's job, so please stop putting his name forward. And no to Potter, an overrated manager, if there is one. I agree, to be honest. And ask yourselves, why is Potter still out of job? Why with so many jobs that were available in the summer, has he not managed to land one? Foxes, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Let's scroll down and say hello to people I haven't said hello to. Leslie, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. All the usuals, good evening, mate. Who else have we got here? Toha, the radio was playing Christmas. Oh, here you go on radios again and Christmas songs. Good evening, Christmas. It's only November. It's far too early. Bar humbug. Good evening, Colin. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Who else do we have here? Good evening to you, Vonnie. How are you? Pash Beat. How are you? Good to see you at the weekend. A fun day in Nottingham. We were a little bit drunk, weren't we? We actually stayed overnight. I do not know why. It's not as if we were celebrating. And we were really hungover the next day. We were finding it hard to score from open play, leaking goals everywhere, jammy dodgers and sore head, and another tough game against the Toffees this weekend, of course. I'm not drinking this weekend after the Everton game or before it. Good evening, Peter. You heard it here first. It's Deja Vu returns, devoid of passion and lackluster, and that idiot Alvarez sent off again can only get better, but do not know how. Well, I can't blame, although it made it more difficult, I can't blame Alvarez for that defeat. We were rubbish anyway. Amorim, good evening. I hope you're well. Thank you for coming on and got to big up our. I don't do it often enough. Big up the moderators in the chat because they always look after the chat, and I really do appreciate them. I don't tell them often enough, but I really do. Howard, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening. I know I've forgotten how to pronounce your name. Daklavi, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Sounds like a Greek something sweet that you eat that's Greek. Who else have we got? Adrian, how are you, mate? Thank you for joining. Good evening to you. Darren, how are you? Good evening, Rico. How are you, mate? I'd like to wish you well on Saturday, but I'm not going to, and I'm sure you know why. But I tell you what, it's going to be a bit nail-biting, probably more for us. You've got nothing to lose, and we got, well, I don't know how. If you go a goal up at the weekend, the atmosphere at the stadium is going to be interesting. James, good evening to you. Good evening to you. Greg, how are you? Kent, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Will the head coach be gone if we lose to Everton? I think he should be, but will he be? I don't think he will need a young, vibrant. I don't think he will need a young, vibrant manager that can make the most of our squad. For me, I do think maybe that's what you're saying. No. I don't think he'll go. I could be very, very wrong, but if we lose, it's going to be tricky. But I don't think he'll go. Good evening, Adam. Night on the tiles. I hope you're well. Good to have met you. By the way, shout out to you. Lovely to have met you, and shout out to Stuart, who I met as we were coming out of the stadium, and he was shaking his head and said, "Oh, I'm going to be interested to see what you say on Monday night about this one." So hello to you both, and thank you for saying hello. Good evening to you watchers. I hope you're well. Problem is he is possession-based manager, but the players aren't made for that, in my opinion. I agree. And we talked about that a few weeks back about maybe not having the right players for the sort of football he wants to play. I get what he's trying to do, but it's just not happening. Black Country, I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got in the chat tonight? Bolo, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. All Lopetized, hypnotized by Loppy. I like that, Lopetized. West Ham freaks. Dean, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. If they wait till the end of the year, then we are in real trouble, I fear. You know what's going to happen? We'll win a game and then we'll lose a couple, and then we'll draw a game and then we'll lose a couple, and then we'll win a game and then that's what I think will probably happen, which is why I'm sort of looking at that target when we sacked Manuel Pellegrini, and I'm saying that's another 9 games to go, and if he doesn't top that the performances that Manuel Pellegrini's team put in, then I think he will be gone. Let's not forget 19 games, 5 wins, 4 draws, and 10 defeats at that time. Gennaro, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. It's grim. Sully needs to swallow his pride and fire Lopetegui now while the seasons can still be managed. This is my optimistic side. This is my half glass full side. I don't think we're going to get relegated. I don't think we're going to be in a relegation battle, but we're going to be skirting with it. Tony, good evening. I hope you're well. If he loses against Everton, I think he's gone. Good evening to you, Kes. How are you? Thank you for joining. Obsidian, how are you, mate? Looking at the possible new managers is the sensible thing to do at this stage. Loppy is failing. Yeah, I agree. He is. Mark, is it true Tim has banned Loppy from the training ground? Good evening, Ralph. I hope you're well. If we are discussing Moyes, I'm switching off. I'm not discussing Moyes. But you just know I'm not the first to have put Moyes on that list, but he was on there. I can't remember who it was. It was a radio show. It might have been TalkSport. And then it came out in one of the social media channels that apparently Moyes might be a consideration. I just don't think it will happen. I don't think we'll swallow our pride that deep. And can you imagine if Moyes came back? He would be absolutely untouchable. He would be able to do, say what he wants. The fan base can't touch him. The owners can't touch him. No one would. I don't think we're going to go there. Nil. Moyes would return, and Moyes' return wouldn't surprise me. It would kill me. I want real change. Sigh. I said at the start of the season, Lopetegui would be gone by November and Moyes would be back. Keeping fingers crossed that I'm wrong on the Moyes prediction. Hammer it. I never want us to lose, but if you had 80% assurance that we'd get thumped by the Toffees, Loppy should get his P45, would you take it? It really does depend. It really does depend who we really have lined up. If it was Moyes, I'd say no. Even I, and you know what this channel's like. I backed him, I supported him, whatever you want to call it. Moyes right up until the end, and then at the end of the, like when the season was in its final, certainly from January onwards last season, even I was saying, well, it's time for him to go. So no, if it was Moyes on the cards, then the answer is no. Who do I want? I really don't want Potter. Who else is out there? Are we going to go and pay money to get someone out of their contract, like Thomas Frank, etc.? No. History tells you that's not how Sullivan does things. He does not go to look for a manager who's already in employment. Ideally, they look for someone who's either just coming up to the end of their contract or someone who's out of work. Leopard can't change his spots. Philip, Potter was always my choice, obviously, but not many would agree with me, but a brilliant coach. I appreciate your view, and maybe I'm doing him a disservice, but I just don't know. He's not for me. Glenn, good evening to you. If Moyes was to return, that would be me having to be sectioned. Gatesy, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Danny. How are you, mate? I hope you're doing well. Good evening, Martin. How are you? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, William. Forest doing prime Moyes 2020-23 tactics, simple and effective. Yes, absolutely. And how effective is it? But I'll tell you what, they are exciting when they go forward. But they hit teams on the counter attack, and it's absolutely working for them. Dean, Forest didn't need any kind of block against our clown car. 11, Black Country. That's it. I'm off to listen to Motorhead and blast the wax out of my ears. Good night to you, Black Country. I thank you for joining, all too briefly, but appreciate it anyway. Epic. I'm going to stop watching football if Moyes returns. Hammerette, zero confidence in Sullivan appointing someone decent, nor someone decent actually wanting to work under him either. Let's be honest, West Ham United is still an attractive team. They're a London team. They've got a 60,000 fan base. We're a passionate bunch when things are going well. Trust me, there'll be a line of coaches, managers who would relish managing West Ham United. Daklavi, Moyes just feels like that walk that keeps coming back. Daniela, Potter was not that good at Brighton. He was struggling at the beginning. Yeah, and then he got into the system. There's a system at Brighton. We don't have it at West Ham, and that system goes through the owners, the technical directors, the coaches, the staff, etc. They're all on the same time. We're not, are we? We're not. We keep hearing different stories about West Ham, that Sullivan hired Lopetegui and Steiden has nothing to do with it, and Steiden wanted this and Noble wanted that. We're not on the same page, are we? Kevin, would you take Thomas Frank? Yes, I would, but I just don't think West Ham would pay for him to leave his club. Matt, good evening to you. Why was no one picking up the spare man for the free kick at Forest for the second goal? Forget the second goal. What about the first bloody goal? 3 central defenders in the team, and what is he the top goal scorer in the league now? Chris Wood, a free bloody header. We were right behind the goal. Even I could see Chris Wood was unmarked. I couldn't believe it. What else have we got? Leslie, my bet would be Rafa. Sully loves him, always wanted him. Hasn't he been out of work for quite a while as well? God, I hope. I'm not so sure. Is Rafa the right sort of choice? You are right. Sully does love him. Stan, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Hammer it. I would take anyone until the end of the season. No, you would not, because anyone would mean David Moyes included. What do we have to lose? the way we're going, we will see transfer requests handed in. Trust me, no player these days hands in transfer requests because they lose a stack of money, not just Mousegate or Moisty. Victor, good evening to you. I hope you're well. If Moyes returns, that's the end of Tim. Absolutely. Like I said, Moyes would be 100% untouchable. He will call all the shots. He would do what he wants to do. Stephen, would Moyes accept head coach role? I hope not. It wouldn't happen because the first thing he'll say is get rid of Steiden and I'll come back. And that would be an absolutely massive dilemma to West Ham. It's Greg, if we only if we're only chasing managers, coaches out of work, they're likely to be shite. Potter. Sorry, but Potter. Ronnie, mate, I hope you're well. No to Potter. Totally agreed. 8 Barley, how are you? I hope you're well. No, we ain't, but we aren't far off relegation battle, but we absolutely are dog shite. We were on Saturday, not just Lopetegui, but the players' attitude and application seems odd. Very odd indeed. I agree with you. And I'm going to talk a little bit about players and their, their attitudes towards, we're picking up yellow cards, red cards, left, right, and centre at the moment. Gennaro, there are 2 very good and underrated managers on display tonight. Either one would do for me. Remind me who's playing. Brentford against who? Good evening to Mr. Will. How are you? Have you recovered from the weekend? Good to see you too, mate. Albeit briefly. Good to see you too. Always good. And by the way, I'll message you about Friday. Okay. Chris, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I think those other 3 clubs you think are worse than us, while they may be in terms of points, so far they're all playing with more heart and togetherness than we are. Don't disagree with that. Absolutely don't disagree. And that might get them through, the season. Absolutely. Fulham, they're playing. Thank you very much. Yeah. Marco Silva, like him as well. Thomas Frank, like him too. Roberts, good evening, mate. Would you rather have kept Ward-Prowse and Downs than Soler and Rodriguez? No to Ward-Prowse, yes to Flynn Downs. Without a shadow of a doubt, yes to Flynn Downs. I do not understand why we sold Flynn Downs, and I don't. Sometimes I've got a really bad memory, and other things just stick. And I remember how many fans were going, Flynn Downs is shit. Let's get rid of him and let's get other players in. Let's get a World Cup winner in from Argentina instead. And I would have had Flynn Downs hand over fist. I think Flynn Downs is a very, very decent footballer. Forget the fact that he's a West Ham fan. That aside, I think he would have given us an engine in the middle of the park. He would have given us something different. Are you telling me he was any worse than Rodriguez or Soler or Andy Irving or any other, or even Paqueta? Who doesn't seem to play with his heart? I would have kept Flynn Downs without a shadow of a doubt. Ward-Prowse, not sure. He's not even making it in the Nottingham Forest team on a regular basis. Obsidian, if you can't beat Everton, what's the point of giving him Newcastle and Arsenal? It's laughable. Just get rid. Stop wasting game. That's a good point. Yep, that's a good point. If he isn't going to be able to beat Everton, would he be able to beat Newcastle or Arsenal? True. Avid, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. If we're already saying it's win or he's gone, he's not the right man for the job. After Everton, he should go. International break, 2 games we can write off, followed by a string of winnable games. I think a lot of you are saying this weekend, it really is make or break for him. Look, it will not upset me if he was sacked, if we lost against Everton. It wouldn't upset me at all. What I would be biting my nails over is who might come in. And it's a good time. You're absolutely correct. It's an international break. We've got 2 weeks to bring a coach in. He'll have several players available to him who won't be going out on international duty. So, yeah. Foxes. Would Lopetegui walk if he loses? Again, no, he absolutely wouldn't walk. He would have to be pushed. DeCanio, good evening, mate. I heard Soler is on a 2-year loan. Who sanctioned this? Another dud Scarfman. Well, that's what we thought initially, and that's what I reported when we've heard about Soler. But apparently, it's a 1-year loan. So 1 year is my understanding. Matthew, problems are top down. I feel a bit sorry for Lopetegui. He's ambitious, looking to succeed. Unfortunately, he's been employed by a chaos horror show. I did ask a few weeks back, we've got a technical director, we've got a head coach, and they should be in tandem. Now, I did ask the question, have they really been in tandem? How much of all this could be blamed on Tim Steiden? Has he brought the right players in? We certainly know that up front, he's definitely not brought the right player in with Nicholas Fulkrug getting, all right, you can't help getting injured. But everyone saw, and let's put John Duran aside for a second, but you can't, but when we stopped chasing Duran and all of a sudden it was going to be Fulkrug, how many of you turned around and went, why? Completely different player to what we needed. We know we need a Duran type player, but now we know we've got even more problems in the center of the park. All of a sudden, you're starting to ask questions about Rodriguez. You're starting to ask questions about Soler. Now, how many of these players were sanctioned by Lopetegui, and how many of them Steiden just brought in regardless? Guilherme brought in by Steiden, non-obvious. And he's not being used. You know what? We need pace. Use the boy. Who knows what he might be able to do? Use him. Don't just use him when we're 3-4-0 up or 4-1 up like we were against Leicester. Give the boy an opportunity and see what he's capable of, especially with now that we've got Kudus still out because of suspension. I'm not suggesting we start him, but give him 15 minutes and see what he can do. Players looked uninterested, lazy and confused, total lack of discipline, not playing as a team. I agree with that totally. Colin, good evening to you as well, mate. I would any of these for me. Van Nistelrooy, honestly, with the greatest of respect, and I do respect your suggestions, but Van Nistelrooy for me, I do not know. I don't know what he's like as a coach. Genuinely don't. I know. Did he coach at Ajax or was he like a backroom coach or whatever? Conceição? Yeah, Frank, yeah, Iriola, yeah. But these, the last two are in a job, so I can't see us getting them. Need to change before it gets worse. It will be getting worse for me. He won't get it right. Andrew, did none of this lot watch the John Lyle teams? Well, we were pretty shit sometimes, if that's what you're alluding to, Andrew, because let's be really honest. I know we love the past and we adore John Lyle, West Ham through and through, but he did relegate us twice as well. Hamret, many look like they've checked out already. He has to go before it's too late for anyone else to stamp their mark on the team. I feel like we've wasted last season, and this is panning out the same old dross. I'm going to private message you later, Hamret. I get the feeling I know where you're coming from with your comments lately. Simon, good day to you, mate. I hope you're well. Watching from Melbourne. Very welcome, mate. Get the Bournemouth manager in, plus their keeper. Sloppy Loppy has got to get the job. Emmanuel, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. From Ghana, how are you? I hope you're well. We need Ward-Prowse back, our set-piece magician. We've got a lot more problems than just set-piece. I don't disagree with you. Our corners are going back to being shit again. Our free kicks are as well. But we've got a lot more in midfield than just set pieces that we need to worry about. Shaky. It looked so positive at the beginning of the season. What a kick in the nuts. We deserve better. Brian, what do we though, Shaky? Didn't we have better? And I'm not for a minute suggesting that Moy should come back, but we kind of did have better, didn't we? Brian, hello from the State. Good evening, mate. Hello to you all. Good afternoon to you. Are you looking forward to the elections tomorrow, Brian? I believe there is a communication problem with the team and Loppy, and the players don't have any confidence in any of the number of styles of play he has tried. Now, it's been suggested quite a few times about James Allen, who watches the show, messaged me a couple of times. He said, don't you think there's a problem with communication? And I was a bit dismissive. I went, no, it's all right. He's got coaches around for training, etc. And then I didn't think, did I? What about game match days? He's standing on the side shouting out. If the players don't understand what he's asking them to do, is that an issue? Matthew, let's not let Lopetegui take the flak for Sullivan and Brady show. He's just an average coach. 8 Barley, I'm going to throw Steiden in on that as well, to be honest with you, Matthew. He had, and he even said it, that he was part of the process for selecting a new coach. 8, Rio Van Nistelrooy, not for manager, but he could still get games for us. We need someone up front. SLM, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Rico, we lost to Southampton, haven't won a game till Saturday. Haven't won a game till Saturday. We were shocking. Worse if we lose, Deitch out. You know what's going to happen, don't you, Rico? You know what's going to happen. You're going to come to West Ham United, having lost to Southampton, who were no good, and you're going to beat us. That's what's going to happen. George, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Suppose David Moyes is needed, would stabilise things to the end of the season. Not a lot would agree with you there, mate. Vonnie, but he would stabilise us. There is the truth there. Vonnie, Sully will wait for the January transfer window. Tell Lopetegui there is no more money, hoping he will leave of his own accord and then get Moyes in. That wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. Gatesy, Sullivan, the clown, needs transferring out, and Brady too. Well, you know they're not going, and they'll just hand everything over, or he'll hand everything over to his son. He's not going anywhere. Ronnie, did he do an interview? Yeah, I asked, and I didn't get a reply. I get what he's trying to do, but he hasn't got the players in midfield and doesn't seem able to properly adjust. Agree. He is trying different things, but it's just not working out, is it? And Ronnie asked me, did you see the interview done, a post-match interview done by Lopetegui? And I went, well, I'm sure, because they're, and as Ronnie reminded me, they're obliged to do it. No interview after the game, which is interesting. Do we read anything into that? Chris, I'm looking forward to my trip to Paphos next week. Less than 5-hour trip from Bridlington on Saturday, you lucky bastard. I hope it pisses down with rain. No, I'm kidding, mate. Have an absolutely great time. It's lovely out there. Even in November, it's going to be nice and warm. The evenings get a little bit cooler, but you can have a lovely during the daytime. Decano, get your money on Rafa for the next manager. Fact. Where is Rafa nowadays? Is he? I thought he bloody retired. Foxes, with the players go floppy and throw the game? I hope not. You got to fight for it. It doesn't matter who the manager is. You got all head coaches. Shaky. I'm not buying into that, Brian. What did Brian say? Let's go back. It's too far up. Not buying into that, Brian. They're professional players. They should. Oh, yeah, about will they throw the game? No, they won't throw the game. Good evening, Michael. How are you, mate? I hope everything is well with you. Who else have we got? Colin. Stalemate, there is still one manager we have forgotten that I know Sullivan likes. Hope it doesn't. Oh yeah, Benitez, has been said before. That's a possible. Someone tell me where Benitez is. I don't know. Is he managing at the moment? Paul, money. Moyes is half the problem. Left us with the oldest squad in the Premier League. Absolutely, yeah. He left us in this shit show, to be honest, with the players that he had and the players that he got rid of and the players that he neglected. Richard, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Surely even Moyes' skin isn't that thick that we would want to the club to have him back at the club. Who didn't want him? I think he's got a thick skin. I think if he was offered, he would be. It would be on his terms. Matthew, don't vent your anger at Loppy. Brady has gone on the record to say she wanted the appointment. Loppy didn't force the appointment. They chose him. Yeah, true. They did. But I'm still saying that Steiden had a part in that. Dean, I think Richard Keith suggested Frank. Yes, I did read that just before I came online, and I did have a giggle. Would be a good manager. Now that would be something. It would be. Imagine us singing Fat Frank songs to our new head coach. That would be. There's no way he would come and manage West Ham. Absolutely no way. And I don't think he'd be the right manager either. Great. Epic if Moyes returns. There will be no football to watch. Richard, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got in here? Leslie. The Premier League has changed. Some of the old managers cannot. The Premier League has changed. Some of the old managers cannot adapt. We need younger coaches that can change and adapt. Yeah, good point. Daniel, good evening to you. Question. Sullivan won't buy any coach out. Yep. Sounds like we'll get second grade if Lopetegui goes now, or will we? He will not buy a coach out. No. If otherwise, he would have bought Amorim out. I'm going to come to Amorim in a minute. And I'm not happy. Not happy about him. Flimmer, hi, Stel. Good evening to you. I hope you are. No, we're just, throwing it out there. Gary, if it doesn't matter if we have Lopetegui or Chipchester, our players' egos are in overdrive. Gary, yeah, good point. Yeah, do they think they're better than they really are? Andrew, Southgate, Potter, Moyes, Turgic would be totally underwhelming. Seriously falling out of love with this club. You never fall out of love with West Ham. You go through rocky patches, don't you? Steve, should the owners go for Marco Silva? He's very good and knows our play. Yeah, I agree. Marco Silva, Thomas Frank, absolutely. But we won't get them because they're both in jobs. Epic, Flynn Downs wanted to leave. Flynn Downs was pushed out, mate. And he was told that he wasn't going to get enough game time. So, I'm not surprised. What would you do? Sorry, mate, you're not going to get hardly any game time, or Southampton want you and you'll play every week. That's why he wanted to leave. Big sigh. We had 3 red cards last season. This season, 2 reds in 10 games. Matt, love your Stell on Downs. I think Downs would have done a job for us. Downs would have given us a little bit of oomph in that middle of the park, to be honest. He's not the best footballer in the world, but ask yourselves, Andy Irving, who we've seen not much of, Rodriguez, who's slow, Paqueta, whose head is somewhere else, Souček, I guess, is probably, believe it or not, our best central midfielder at this moment in time. Thomas Souček, our best central midfielder at this moment in time. Watches. What do you think of the Brazilian forward transfer rumours? A whole load of bollocks, to be honest with you. Yeah, no, I take that back. Not a load of bollocks. There could be something in that, but I'm not even gonna start thinking about transfers until if his name is still being mentioned, come around the second week of December, I might give it a bit of credence. Darren, I think we need to give him the next game. If we loses, sack him. Ralph, I rate Downs and rate Potts. Potts is having another really good season. I'll come to him in a moment. Stel, from Colin, here is another two you can pick. Allegri and Sarri. Good ones. But if we want a young, hungry, someone mentioned just a moment ago, the Premier League, I think it was Leslie, the Premier League keeps changing. We need young managers who can adapt. Then, I mean, they're solid, old managers. Absolutely. Totally agree with that. But are they the right way forward for the future? I don't know. Toha, when I worked in Hungary, we got a new Spanish colleague in named Jesus. The organization folded, so he did not save us. So not a fan of the Spanish messiahs. Scott, I really want Lopetegui to succeed, but 10 games in, I just haven't seen any progress. Surely a decent manager must be able to get a tune out of these players we brought in. Now, here's the thing, because up until the game before the Nottingham Forest game, I did say, look, I can see some difference, that more possession, more opportunities on goal, etc. That's what we were asking for, but it hasn't been consistent. It hasn't been consistent. We haven't had apart from a really poor Ipswich, we haven't had a game where we've been consistent for the whole 90 minutes. We've had half a game against Man City and half a game here and a half a game there, or 20 minutes here or 15 minutes there, but it's not been consistent. So I've seen what he's trying to do, but he's just not got the consistency. And as other people have said, have we got the right sort of players to be playing the sort of football that he wants to play? And that, I don't know. Who else we got? Yes, please do hit the like button. Thank you, Flamur. If you're new to the channel, there's 283 people watching, which I really appreciate. Now, I know there's a good majority of you that aren't subscribers. Look, just subscribe. All you got to do is hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. And if you don't like it after a few weeks of watching, then unsubscribe. Well, no, don't unsubscribe. Just forget about it, but just subscribe. And if you've yet to hit that like button, please do hit the like button. Dan, good evening, mate. Not too bothered with the results year one, but performances are what counts, and they are really poor week in, week out. Good point. Yeah. Performances, tells you which direction of travel we're going in, and they've not been good. Nando Mussolini, how are you? I hope you're well. Good morning to you. Where are you if it's good morning there? Why doesn't the fan base rebel against the real issue, and that is Sullivan? He is the reason our club is not moving forward with ambition. I'll tell you why. Because the last time we rebelled against Sullivan, remember the protests, remember the pitch invasions? Who did he go out and get after Moyes came in and saved us from relegation? Manuel Pellegrini? Oh, yes, that's who he got in. And that's what will happen again. It's not so much that we protest. It's just that they've got to get the appointments right. Get the appointments right, and you might be on a bit of a winner. Do I think Amorim, by the way, should have come into West Ham? Let's see what he does at Man United. He may be good. He may be good. MPM, good evening to you. Wrong stadium, wrong owner, wrong manager, wrong captain, and wrong centre forward. I can't argue with much of that, can I? Kevin, would you keep Soler after these 10 games? I've not seen enough. I've really not seen enough of him to suggest that we should keep him. James, good evening, mate. I just mentioned you. Someone mentioned about communication, and I said, James, alerted me to it. And I don't want, not that I was dismissive, but I read your messages and I went, no, he's got coaches. But now I'm thinking, what about game, during match day, and he's shouting out things in the sidelines. Do they understand what he's saying. Martin, I think you might get crucified doing that, mate. Pac-Man has been summoned to appear before the Brazilian parliament. He has. Well, if you're talking about last week, that was postponed, and he's now going to appear at the end of December, I believe. Andrew, Porto manager Sergio Conceição is the caliber of manager we should be aiming for. Who did he used to play for? He was an ex-player, wasn't he? Conceição. I don't know how he's doing. I'm guessing he's doing pretty well. Amrit. Andrew, yes, I would love to get him in. Who would you love to get in? See, that's how bad I am. Oh, yeah, Conceição. That would be the most exciting appointment for a free agent. Is he a free agent, though? Vonnie, wasn't Max Hahn, the analyst, supposed to work out what players we needed and how they would work together? Is it a case of computer says no? Well, that's a really, really good question, because not only did we get Steiden in, he got his entourage in the background, his brother, who's a scout, an international scout. And there's Max Hahn, you're absolutely right, looking at all the analytics to suggest what we need. How has it gone so badly wrong? How has it gone so badly wrong? That's a really, really good point, Vonnie. Housefly, what manager would you be happy with? At this moment in time, if I'm going to do a knee-jerk, it's going to be Turcic. Why? Because he did really well in Germany. He knows West Ham. He was a coach at West Ham when Bilic was here. So he knows the club. He knows the fabric of the club. So I would go for him. I don't want Potter, to be honest with you. I will support him if he becomes manager. And it ain't going to be Moyes, so don't worry. Ralph, we have no obligation with Soler, so maybe he's a stand-in for Earthy, Potts or Alford. I'd rather get Earthy, Potts or Alford back and let them play instead. James, communication and language barrier clear as day in the press conferences. Yep, we just mentioned that. Dean, the statement regarding reasons for not employing Amorim is extremely worrying. That logic is ingrained and is an indicator of who they'll look at if Lopetegui goes. I'm going to come to him in a moment. Pash, the players don't seem collectively good enough. Lucas Pack of poop. The 65 million euros of dog is a waste of space and has been for ages. He's got to go. You don't like him, do you? Do you, Paul? Obsidian. Tim was part of the process. He said, no way to flobby. A negative vote is still a vote. Paul, I don't know. I'm not letting Steinen off too lightly. Paul, rumour is Moyes could go to Wolves if they lose v Southampton. He'll stabilise them. Daniel, how far behind? Bloody hell. I haven't even started the show yet. Daniel, I thought that Nolan would be gone this season with Lopetegui coming in, but he's still here. Noble, you mean? Now reading between the lines, he's possible caretaker coach waiting in the wings. No, Noble will not be caretaker coach of West Ham United. Andrew, never want us to lose any games, but it will probably be a blessing in disguise as time is of the essence and we're only delaying the inevitable. Morel, good evening. It will be a typical West Ham to beat Everton. They sack Dyche, then we bring him in to replace Lopetegui. Gennaro, sorry. Doesn't seem to be the hardest word for Lopetegui. Practically every post-match interview, he does say sorry an awful lot. Chris, Paphos was underwater at the weekend. Storms and floods just added to the crap. Oh my God, was it? I didn't know that. Bloody hell. Peter Benitez was at Celta Vigo last season and was replaced this season. So I'm guessing he's not working at the moment. Only out of work, Leslie. Total lack of ambition. Is Sully to blame? Sully is to blame for this. Look, he owns the club. Let's not beat around the bush. He owns the club. He does make decisions. But I do believe that he was that Lopetegui was interviewed by other directors as well. Brady, Kretinsky. I'm pretty certain that he was, and I'm pretty certain that Steiden was behind. So it's a collective. I'm not trying to exonerate Sullivan from the decision, but I think they were all part. You know, if someone really thought he was that shit, they should have said so. And I'm sure if those conversations were had, they would have been listened to. Gaz, good evening to you. What's the betting Moyes is going to be at the stadium on Saturday for the Everton game? So, oh, yeah. Why wouldn't he be? You know, why wouldn't he be? If so, there's going to be a lot. Who would be more nervous? Everton fans or West Ham fans? Who would be more nervous? Now, let's say Everton lost. Would the Everton fans go, oh, fuck me, Moyes is on his way back? Paul, Thank you. Always well, I try. Thank you for saying that, Paul. Gennaro, the saddest thing is that Moyes Brigade reveling in Lopetegui's failure. I don't know if anyone's reveling, to be honest with you. I really hope not. Victor, what's Sullivan looking at when he's watching the team play? Everyone can see we are poor. Can't be watching the same game. Must spend his time looking at the young Dolly Birds. Shucks. Gaz, I missed Fornals. I'd also, yeah, he would have added something to this team. But I think my missus, Mrs. Moore, she's always giving me updates. And you know what? Yeah, Moyes did push Fornals out, and what a shame, really. What a shame. You know, should have stayed. I wish he'd stayed because I think he would have reveled in this team. Obsidian, if Rafa is 64, he may be too young and risky for Sullivan. James, I'd take Fornals back any day. I don't know. I think he'd revel. I think he'd be playing regularly, to be honest. Tommy, I think maybe we should try Kilman in midfield. He knows how to carry a ball, strong, fast, and can read a game, and would be a strong, solid central defensive mid. That's not a bad shout, but I think I'd much rather he was in defence at this moment because I think him and Todibo are developing. I mean, I know it sounds crazy because we keep conceding, but I think they're developing a pretty decent duo at the back there. Evening to you. I would get Kevin Keane, maybe as a temporary Anthony. I hope you're well. Hammerette, subscribe if you're new. Ensure you get notifications for still shows. Give the channel a like too, please, because it's something to help. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hammerette. Much appreciated. Robert, I'd love to see Alonso at the club. Spend money to get him. He's not going. I mean, great shout. There's some great shouts for coaches, but if they're currently in employment, then you can forget they're coming. You know, but yeah, great shout. Big sigh. The only consistency we have is conceding two goals a game so far, including last season's 94 games conceded in 48. It's scary. It's absolutely scary. Anthony, do fans not remember if it wasn't for Sullivan buying West Ham, we would have gone into administration after the cock-up? Yeah, that is true. That is true. And it is also true, whether we like it or not, they do spend money. It's just that they fall short, don't they? You know, they've always spent money in the transfer window. I've always maintained that they've not spent money wisely. That's why Steiden has come in. That's why Steiden came in for this summer, just gone, in order to stabilise the way we do transfers. There's no difference in my eyes. We bought players who are injured. We bought players who are old. We got freebies, you know, who aren't that good, probably way past it. And we bought players who are not going to get game time. You know, young players. I can't see. That's why my head is telling me, you know, this isn't only just Lopetegui's got to coach these players. Absolutely. It's his decisions, you know, tactics, formations and all that. Totally get that. But my head is telling me Steiden came in on this fucking magic carpet, didn't he? You know, that he was going to become something completely different to what we had before. That's why we got a technical director in. And we all said, poor Tim last season, being stifled by Moyes, offering players. And Moyes kept saying no to all the players that he offered him. He doesn't have that this season. You know, he didn't have that this summer. We walked away from the transfer window when it closed and we went, wow, wasn't that great? What amazing transfer window we had. And now we're questioning half the players that we brought in. Soler, why is Guilherme not playing? Where's Soler? You know, where's that? I mean, if he's that good for PSG, why is he not showing any flair now? Rodriguez, he's so slow. You know, and the only players, ironically, that I think are doing well, and here we go again, because I know it doesn't make sense, are the defenders. Wan-Bissaka's been great. Todibo looks like a class act. Kilman is solid. And yet we're conceding so many goals each game. Somerville, who I think is going to be a class player, not even being... I mean, he pulled off at halftime, you know, in the game when we needed pace against Nottingham Forest. You know, so I'm asking, my brain is beginning to rattle and go, yeah, all right, we had a great transfer window. How come half these players are not that good? And that is down, Steinen said, before any player was bought, I've got complete control. It's down to me. It's great. And he was having a knock at Moyes. He's down to me who I get. Well, he got Fulkrug, who's injury prone. He's got Guilherme, who's could well be a player for the future, but the current coach is not using him. He's got Rodriguez and Soler on a loan, but not to buy. Rodriguez on a freebie. And I'm sitting there looking and going, he can't be exonerated from any blame. Eamon, if the players are good, the manager is bad. If the players are bad, well, the manager is still bad for buying them. Well, he didn't buy them. Steiden did. So either way, the manager needs to go. Should Steiden go as well? Actually, that's a question I'm going to ask you lot. Tell me what you think of Tim Steiden so far for this season. Good, bad, indifferent? Because I get your point there, Eamon. If the players are good, the manager is bad. If the players are bad, the manager is still bad for buying them. He didn't. Steiden did. So either way, the manager needs to go. And by that analysis, does that mean that Steiden... what did I say? Either way, the manager needs to go. So by that, should Steiden go as well? I've not seen an improvement for this team. Dean, on recruitment, I was confident that Steiden would really turn things around in the summer. Unfortunately, I think that confidence was a trifle misguided. Neil, these YouTubers are the only thing West Ham that are worth watching. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Andrew, we're going to have to call Dinah Rod in to see them. Who's going to see who off? Oh, packet of poop. David, can Frank get the best out of the youth players? And he did at Derby and Chelsea. He did prove to the fans that he turned out to be a great player. Unfairly treated. Moyes or Lampard? Frank for me. Would the West Ham fans... So there's another question. Give me your views on Steiden. Do you think he's done a good job, a bad job, or an indifferent job? And given that we're not doing too well, should Steiden take some of the blame? And should he be gone? And how many? And then another question to you guys. You tell me, and I'll read them later. How many of you would take Frank Lampard as the next coach of West Ham? All tackled up. Good evening to you. I think we need a Premiership manager to get us back up the table and safe before Sully lets this run on too long. Potter may be the only safe answer in short term, even though not the long term. But he will want to come in for the long term. Victor, still you keep saying Sullivan owns the club. He doesn't. His major shareholder, not owner, makes him the owner. He's a major shareholder. He has final say on things. Nando, from sunny Australia. I hope you're doing well down there. Thank you for joining. I will throw you Mancini as a name. Moyes has sent a shiver down my spine. Mancini? Yeah. Where is he at the moment? Is he in Italy? I think he's in Italy, isn't he? Andrew, I really think we're going to struggle to bring a top manager in with Sullivan at the helm. He is a big problem for the club moving forward. Right. I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to go into some parts of the show that I haven't even started on. So let's go back there. Let me do that. That would stay. Right. A quick roundup. A very, very quick roundup. So we've started talking about it already. How long has Lopetegui got? Most of you have already said that you think if we lose at the weekend, Lopetegui's gone. I think if we lose at the weekend and then we lose against Arsenal and Newcastle, he's definitely gone. So let's see what happens there. Now, the manager that everyone we thought should have got him, and there's a good reason why I'm saying F-U-C-K Amorim. What did we make, or what did you make? I don't know how many of you read it, of Amorim's comments that he was nowhere near close to agreeing terms to become West Ham United's next head coach. Do you remember last week? Everyone was going on about, terms were agreed. Can't believe it that Sullivan messed up, etc., etc. Amorim has come out himself and said, nowhere near agreeing terms. He also stated that he was never going to leave Sporting at the end of last season, and that he met West Ham, much to the annoyance of Sporting's president. So why on earth did he even bother to meet West Ham if he had no intention of leaving Sporting? Now, I believe, my theory is that he really did try to force. The reason why he came, much to the annoyance of Sporting, the Sporting president, and much to the fact that he actually said himself in an interview that he had no intention of coming to West Ham and no negotiations were made, no agreement was made. My theory is what I said before, that he only came over to put himself in the shop window. He only came over to alert Liverpool, who were looking for a replacement for Jurgen Klopp at the time. And I think that couldn't be any truer now than it was. I think it's much clearer now that he had no interest in West Ham United whatsoever. He thought he was clearly ready for a bigger job. And his intention of flying out here without having any intention of joining us is purely because he put himself in the shop window. And you know what? For that alone, I'm going to say I hope he absolutely fucks up at Man United. I think he used us, to be honest with you. And I think he got the crowd go. I think he got the fans going. He got them all excited. And I don't think he gave a damn. Now, what sort of person, what does that say about him who would come over to meet another team and he's got no intention of going to them in the first place? I didn't like that. I thought that was a bit shit. I thought he used West Ham United for his own purposes. And how soon would he have gone if, let's say, he accepted, let's say he got the job? How long would it been before, if another team came knocking, that he'd be off? I reckon he wouldn't have even given us more than the season if he came in. So I think that was a bit disappointing, to be quite honest with you. Right, let's do some other quick catch-ups, some roundups. The women's team have lost again at the weekend. Whilst we've got our problems with the men's senior team, the women's team have got equal problems, if not worse. Manager Rayhan Skinner is facing her own demons. Another defeat at the weekend, this time at the hands of previous clubs she managed, Spurs. They've gone now 6 games in the league without a win. Took 4 defeats, 2 draws. They're only 1 place above the bottom of the league, with Everton occupying the bottom position, only on goal difference. Skinner, as I've mentioned before, narrowly avoided relegation when she managed Spurs 2 seasons ago. Then she narrowly avoided relegation with West Ham last season. I can virtually guarantee the women's team, if you really care, are going to go down this season. What about the academy? Well, the under-18s were involved in quite a stormy game last week. Involved an 8-goal humdinger in the Premier League Cup against Everton last Tuesday. We went 4-0 up after 26 minutes and looked to be cruising to an easy win when Everton first hit back on 36 to make it 4-1 by half-time. Then we seemed to just implode. Everton scored 3 goals in the second half, and their equaliser coming on the 86th minute. Goals from Sawumni, 2 from Halim, and 1 from Golombekis. Should have been enough to see the game out, but we let it slip. That was unusual. And speaking of Iridas Golombekis, he's the latest academy player to sign his first professional contract and turning 17. Happy birthday to him. It's his birthday today. What are we? We are the 4th, aren't we? Yes, we are. Golombekis is of dual nationality, English and Lithuanian, and despite having made 2 appearances for the Lithuanian under-16s team, he has switched allegiances and now plays for the England under-18 squad. He is quite a classy and elegant central defender who can also play in midfield. He made already 10 appearances for the under-18s this season in all competitions and has already notched up 5 goals. He's a central defender. He grew up in East Ham. He's a West Ham fan, joining the club at the age of 9. Academy manager Kenny Brown describes him as a great character, both off and on the pitch. His character is exemplary. We wish him well and hope he can become the next, Rio Ferdinand? Let's take that. West Ham under-21s played Fulham last Friday, and they suffered a big defeat. Had they won the game, it would have elevated West Ham to joint 3rd in the table, but with a point behind Brighton and 3 behind league leaders Man City. But they fluffed it. Instead, we went a goal down earlier on in the game and really didn't recover from there. And then we lost 3-0. That's unusual for the under-21s, who have been superb. That's 3 defeats in a row so far. Next game is this Friday, where they face Braintree Town away in the National League Cup. And then we return to Premier League 2 action after the international break on the 29th, where we visit Man United. Right, how about a bit of loan news? Because at least some of our players are doing better for their loan teams than they are for home teams. First off, Patrick Kelly and Gideon Kodua capped their maiden senior FA Cup appearances with crucial goals, which led to their respective teams winning in getting victories, Doncaster Rovers and Wycombe Wanderers. Kelly's first senior goal was the winner and came late on as Doncaster beat fellow League 2 side Barrow. Northern Ireland Youth International Kelly played 90 minutes in midweek in Doncaster Rovers' 3-1 win over Barnsley in the EFL Trophy. and was introduced at halftime in this game. The substitution paid off. Kelly latched onto a ball and scored the winning goal. In a post-match interview, Doncaster manager Grant McCann said of Kelly, "I'm really pleased for him because the kid is going to be a very, very good footballer and a top player for the future." Gideon Kodua is getting game time at Wycombe Wanderers. He marked his senior FA Cup debut by scoring his second goal in as many starts for Wycombe when they beat National League opponents York City 3-2. Callum Marshall was also involved in FA Cup football. He also made his debut when he came on for the second 45 minutes of Huddersfield Town's trip to Tamworth. However, it was a night to forget as they were knocked out of the competition by the National League opponents. Centre-back Michael Forbes also featured as a substitute, coming on midway through the second half in Bristol Rovers' first round FA Cup win as they saw off National League South opposition Weston-super-Mare. Didn't even know they had a team. 3-1 in extra time. Freddie Potts was in league action at the weekend, made his 8th consecutive start for Portsmouth as they drew with Hull City away. He has become pivotal to the Portsmouth side and continues to receive rave reviews for his performances. Boy, oh boy, could we do with a player like him in our central midfield at the moment. West Ham Academy teammate George Earthy was an unused sub as Bristol City moved within 2 points of the playoff places with a 3-1 away win at Preston North End. And Naifa Gerd is having a great time in Spain. He played another 90 minutes as Real Sociedad took all 3 points from a 2-0 victory away to Seville. And lastly, Mason Terry was in action for Hornchurch in their 1-1 draw against Malden and Tiptree in the third round of the Essex Senior Cup. Terry was called into action 6 times throughout the 90 minutes, including a number of fine saves before Hornchurch secured the win on penalties, with Terry saving from the spot. Maxwell Cornet was not involved in Southampton's first Premier League win against Everton at the weekend. Kurt Zouma watched on from the bench as Al Aroba were defeated by Al Okdoud in the Saudi Pro League. And lastly, Mohamed Kante, or Mohamedou Kante, was not involved in Paris FC's 3-3 draw against Rodez, which kept them at the top of League Two standings. And I ask myself, and it goes back to Steiden again, if Mohamedou Kante can't make the first team of a League Two side in France, how good is he going to be coming to West Ham United? Or are they saving him and ensuring that he doesn't get injured? Don't know. Am I being too harsh on Timmy? I don't know. You tell me. Going to go into the match review, and we're going to talk a lot more about Lopetegui, but let's do your comments again. By the way, yeah, goodness, we were meant to be heard today whether his ban was going to be extended, and we haven't had any news unless it's come out in the last hour that I've been online. But we're still waiting for the outcome of our appeal to Kudus's red card. So, Hammer it. I bet Kudus has nightmares of his interview pre-season, bigging up the excitement of playing under Lopetegui. Good point. Colin. Terzic is a pragmatic manager. Even Dortmund fans wanted him gone in the end, and yet he took them to the Champions League final. I'm sure he is pragmatic. Isn't that what we need at the moment? Neil, the club spends money, not the shareholders. That is the way private companies work. Yeah, the club do spend money. Is there a point to that? Have I missed something? Explain to me, Neil, please. Darren, David spend the money and gets Pep a winner. I don't know. You're going to have to explain because clearly I've missed something. Anthony, West Ham is a business whether fans like it or not. So therefore it's been run like a business. Absolutely. Jason, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Robert, 1-1 Fulham have equalised. Kevin, Sullivan is turning the club into a franchise. There's going to be more West Hams going out there. Shaky Terzic has a decent percentage record. Why are some platforms so negative to a possible appointment? Look, we need stability. If Terzic gives us that stability, why not? It may not please all the fans, but then we can't please all the fans, can we? Jenna otherwise would have kept Moyes. Gennaro, would Maurizio Pochettino be tempted with a return to the Premier League? If Sullivan splashed the cash, it would make up for Amorim. I take Pochettino. Now, I genuinely don't know. Is he out of work as well? I genuinely don't know. If he's in work, he won't come. Andrew, Fulcrook has been a shambolic signing, and with the power of hindsight, Guilherme, a nonsensical buy. The money could have been used to bring in Amorim and get the Duran deal over the line. What did you think of what I just said about Amorim, Andrew? I don't think he wanted to come to us. Full stop, to be quite honest with you. I genuinely don't think he had any intention to come to West Ham. Mr. Shios, Steiden should go. Thank you very much. Sheikh, I'm not advocating for Steiden to go, but I am disappointed with his reputation. I am disappointed at what we got in the summer transfer window. There we go. Shaky, Poch has only just signed for the US national team. Richard, Steiden doesn't have final say. Well, according to him, when he went, he had an interview and he more or less said, I'm really glad Moyes, without though using those words, I'm glad Moyes is gone. It's down to me now. I've got the freedom to do what I want in the transfer window. And the first signing, let's not forget, the first signing he got was Guilherme. 23 million pounds. That was definitely a Steiden say. Did he have a say in Kilman? Probably not. Maybe it was Lopetegui who said, I like Kilman, and Steiden went and did the deal. Did he have a say in Lopetegui? I think he probably did. I think he introduced him to the club. Eamon, Steiden only needs to go if the players turn out to be bad. You tell me, how good are they? I mean, I think Somerville will come good. I think Kilman is coming good. I think Wan-Bissaka's a good buy. I think Todibo is a good buy. I think those four are. I think Guilherme, let's see what the boy can do, could become a good purchase. And then we've got another four players, Soler and Rodriguez. It's ironic, isn't it? The area that we thought we might be all right in, the centre of the park, is the area that we're suffering from. West Foderingham, forget that. Third choice keeper, we may never see him play. Jason, who's favourite with the bookies for the West Ham job? I actually don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know what the odds are at the moment. Babel, good evening to you. Tim not being used properly, only being used as a scout. Is he, though? Obsidian, I would take Fat Frank over Moyes, but then I would take over Moyes. Lee, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Lampard, not me, Mark. Not me. I didn't say it. It came out in an interview. I think, was it Talk Sport? Or was it, who was it that someone said it? Epic. I would absolutely take Frank on a short term just to see what would happen. It would be chaotic. Hey, I mean, seriously, would West Ham fans really want Frank Lampard as our manager, even on short term? Neil, Hammerett, sadly, players are stock long as the turnover stays as Premier League survival. Sullivan and Brady will continue to get their very large slices. Well, they make money. Of course they do. All tackled. Still, we have no cohesion between the attack, midfield, and defence. We have no midfield defensive capabilities at all. It's just pressure on the defence. Mad worse by Wan-Bissaka and Emerson sitting so high. Well, they're being told what to do. And then you're absolutely correct. I totally agree with that bit about the central midfield. There is absolutely no cover. Rodriguez looks like sometimes he has the odd half-decent game and then he looks way out of his depth. And Alvarez, well, he's headstrong, isn't he? He goes in and gives tackles away, gives fouls, he gets sending off, etc. Paqueta, well, he's not a defensive midfielder either. Souček, as I said earlier on, is currently our best central midfielder. Make of that what you want. Eamon, Steinen should go only if the players are bad. Won't know until we get another manager. Fair play. Good shout. Hammerett, isn't it so sad that only 10 games in and we're all debating who needs to replace the coach? Was meant to be a fresh start. Carrick is not doing too well at Middlesbrough, to be honest with you, Jason, so I'm not too sure about him. Andrew, Turcic is another pragmatic manager. The Dortmund players and fans hated his style of football. We need to stay well away. What do we want? Because at this moment, not having to go at you, Andrew, but let's get this in perspective. 3 seasons we had, or 4 seasons we had under Moyes, pragmatic, which got us some success. Last season was pretty poor. We knew by the end of it he had to go. Okay, but a pragmatic manager. But that pragmatism gave us success. Someone said way up at the beginning of the show, look at Santo adopting West Ham tactics and look at what they're doing. They're being quite successful with them. We're talking about getting all these flair managers in, we can play fancy football. That might not get us the wins that we need. That might actually make things worse, because people are now suggesting is perhaps we don't have the players that give us a solid spine to the team. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need a pragmatic manager for now. No to Carrick. No way, Frank. Mancini has just left the Saudi job. Could we tempt him? Maybe. Victor. Steiden had an impossible. We should have never been in a position of needing to bring 9 players in. Law of averages tells you won't get it all right. I totally agree with that. Absolutely, totally agree with that. But then, as I said, I look at some of the players. The alarm bells should have started ringing when we sent all our half-decent academy players out on loan. George Earthy, who was in the first team last season, was sent out on loan. And then Potts was sent out on loan and various others sent out on loan. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. We're not going to keep at least 1 or 2. We've been shouting out. And I remember talking about Lopetegui and talking about how he likes using young players. And yet, every single one of them have gone out on loan. Weird. Steiden, Darren, is good, but David and Brady don't look. David and Sullivan and Brady don't look good. Gaz Hammer, good evening to you. No to lump of lard. He slagged us off to Chelsea fans. Steiden needs to take some of the blame. Moyes left us in a bad position with the squad. I totally agree. He absolutely did. There was a lot of work to do. Richard, Amorim only came because he had his eye on coming to the Premier League. It just never was us. That's what I think. And I think, sod that for a laugh. He used us. Sean, no faith in Sullivan to allow Steiden to find someone. We'll see. Eamon, don't want Lampard. That will be just us going backwards when it comes to picking managers. Christine, good evening to you. He wanted the Liverpool job. Usual. Next, West Ham manager. Southgate 2-1. Corberan 5-2. Rodgers 7-2. Rodgers. Interesting. Corberan. Don't know. Southgate, my God. The fan base would be apoplectic. Kevin, 2-1 to Fulham. Thank you for keeping me up to date. Southgate, the fan base would go into absolute overdrive. If we get back Moyes or Southgate, I'm finished with us, Gaz. Always support West Ham, mate. Doesn't matter how shit we are. And we've been even more shit than you can believe. Victor. Skinner hasn't won a league game in 14. Who's on the women's board? The one and only Karen Brady says it all. Fucking awful. And I feel sorry for the women's team because we've got some decent international players in the women's team. Richard, so much more to the Amorim story, I'm sure. Sully was never going to pay the money. Didn't have to because Amorim didn't want to come to West Ham. And that's what I'm a bit... having read that today, that got my blood boiling a little bit because it just made me go, you know what? We've been used yet again. Amorim made his way to London, all that fanfare, etc. And he never was interested in coming to West Ham. Colin, still, as far as I know, Sullivan never wanted a director of football. It was Kretinsky who wanted one. Not true. He interviewed him first before Sully. Don't think that's true. If that's the case, he's Kretinsky's man and Loppy, Sully's man. I, with the greatest of respect, I don't know where you've heard it from, but I don't think any of that's true. Kretinsky has absolutely no interest in the running of West Ham United. He's an investor. I've been saying this now for God knows how many years. I don't mean disrespect to you, Colin. I don't mean it like that. But what about the story today? Apparently, Kretinsky is going to build a new stadium for Sparta Prague. Kretinsky did an interview last year and he was asked about West Ham. He said, Sparta is my love. Sparta my first team. And everyone's creaming over the fact that Kretinsky is getting richer and richer and richer. He's an investor. He's not going to take over West Ham United, and he's definitely got no say in who comes in as director of football. I think that was again, ironically, that was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to bring in a director of football. We needed to go that direction. But Kretinsky, just like Lopetegui, was one of those who probably interviewed Steiden and they all agreed to bringing him in. But at the end of the day, and I tried to explain that earlier on, okay, he's not the owner, he's the major shareholder. Same difference to me because he's got the last say, Sullivan. So we can't say on one hand it's Sullivan's fault because Lopetegui's in, and then say on the other hand, oh, well, it's Kretinsky who brought in Steiden. Doesn't work. because at the end of the day, Sullivan has got final say over everything because he's the majority shareholder. James, Southgate hasn't got Premier League experience, so would he really be a candidate? That's a good point. Well, he played. Did he play in the Premier League? I can't remember. Andrew, Sullivan, well, I'm thinking Aston Villa. Were they in the Premier League when he retired? I really don't remember. Sullivan is self-harming his own club with decisions worse than Joe Biden. Hammer it. With a coach only given 2 years, unless he gets Europe, and according to reports, his job is already on the line. There's no chance he's going to play any youth, unfortunately. Good point. Good point. Matthew, Southgate is not a Premier League coach. Don't know why people keep mentioning him. Marco Silva, proper manager. Agreed. Neil, effing Hill tuned in to be cheered up. Boys, Slothgate, Lumpy. Anyone got Samaritan's number? Come on, mate. You know you'll have a laugh, Neil. Robert, Toha. I take it you're as old as me. If you remember her, I don't know. Don't know who you're talking about. Howard, all this information, give this. Oh, thank you. Mike, bugger me. That was a game only if we played that like that unbelievable win. Which one are you talking about? I've mentioned so many things. I don't even know what I've talked about. Martin, were you talking about the game that's just been on? Wish I could watch it. Martin, Bournemouth, Brighton, Forest all have very good managers. Surely we can do the same. Leslie, Potts is too fast for our donut. Arthur Masuaku, where is he when you need him? Hey, come on. Sean, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Who else we got? Oggy. You know what? Fuck me, I'd take Oggy back. I really would. Kez, totally agree. I don't know how he's doing at Watford. I've not been keeping an eye, but wouldn't you have Ogbonna at the back? You would, wouldn't you? I'd go to him and say, come back, mate. You know, here's a little bonus. Come back. We'll buy you out of your contract. Come back to West Ham. I'd have him. Colin, still, if Lopetegui is Sully's man, Stein and Kretinsky's man, then maybe that is why there has been friction in the boardroom and also between Lopetegui and Stein this season that I've been told. It's not true. With the greatest of respect, you know, if Kretinsky was making the decision on Stein, then he would have made this decision on who the manager would be. You know, you can see the logic. You know, it's Sullivan that has the last say. Evening to you, John. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening, Ian. How are you, mate? Poch has taken the USA job. God, what a waste. You know, well, for us. Trudge. Angelo Ogbonna has suffered a significant harm. Oh, I didn't know that. According to comments made by Tom Cleverly. What a shame. No, let him stay at Watford. Don't need him back just yet. Let him get over. What a shame. What a shame. Love the player. Neil. People keep saying Sullivan put his hand in his pocket. If he has, it was for quick jiggle because he would have taken far more money out of the club than he needed. Oh, absolutely. He's made money on all the loans that he's given to the club. He's made a significant amount of money without a shadow of a doubt. But respect where respect, you know, credit where credit's due. He has, you know, the club have invested in players. You know, I did a show last night about, you know, the similarities between Lopetegui and Manuel Pellegrini. Do you remember when Manuel Pellegrini joined? £100 million we spent in the transfer window, and everyone was like, wow. And then the following season, summer, we spent a lot of money as well. You know, £45 million on Allaire, and that's when we bought what's his name, Spanish player in for 38 million, etc. We do spend money. I mean, there's no denying we spend money. But let's not forget, every other football team in the Premier League is also spending money. We're keeping up with the Jones. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're never going to get there. Now, you know, with FFP and all that, it's meant to be a level playing field. Of course it's not. Daniela, Stell, I said Amorim was never coming to us. Agree, you did. Tim, overrated in my opinion, from Matthew. Infamy, hello mate, how are you? Glad the honeymoon phase is over with Stein and more people are seeing the truth. Robin, good evening mate. What's the rumour? Kudus is off to the Gunners for 90 million? He ain't. Don't worry, he's not going to look. We know come summertime he's off and God knows where he will go, but it's not going to happen in January. It's just a load of bollocks to fill social media space, so don't worry about it. Last days on earth, good grief. Neil, there you go. Last days on earth. If you want to become doom and gloom, how are you? Thank you for joining us. It's got nothing to do with who he plays. It's about the way Floppy sets up to play. Don't disagree with that. But some players I don't think are good enough for the Premier League. Rodriguez, I kind of like. but I'm not so sure he's made for the Premier League. Charles, someone said Gunas, forget about that. It's not happening. Certainly not happening in January. May well happen in summer, but not in January. Can we have Pash? Can we have a poll to see if anyone actually thinks Lucas pack of poop is any good? Decent full packet of, B, a mediocre half-eaten packet of, C, an empty waste of space packet of. You've got a lot of time on your hands, haven't you, Paul? Navadius, good evening. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I want Lopetegui to stay. I don't want to see us give up this easily. Give him proper midfield, then we can judge him. And that's what a question I asked earlier. Has he got the resources available to him to actually be doing the job that he wants to do? Morel, too many egos at West Ham, from the board to the directors down to the management and the players. Yeah, interesting point. Tim, Stein is a fraud. He didn't create the revolution at Bayer Leverkusen like people think. And I'm doing a bit of research in that, Tim, because that's where he got his reputation from. That and Werder Bremen. I'm going to do a bit more research to see exactly who Tim Stein was responsible for signing, because you're right in a way, because it was only after he left Leverkusen that they won the league. But did he set up the foundations for it? That's the bit I want to find out. Mr. Dodsey, how are you? We know the scores. Let's go into meltdown. It's 10 games. Take a chill pill. We won't be relegated. It's revolution, not evolution. I hope were you there at the weekend? Didn't see you. But yeah, look, I know. I mean, I won't lie. Dodsey, even I said last night in a show that I think maybe he should be going because I couldn't really see a way forward. But let's see. Andrew, I can't understand why we're so bad in midfield, the lack of communication, as at least 3 of them speak Spanish. Yeah, good point. Infamy, maybe they're just not good enough. Sean, Infamy. We've had 2 managers with Stein already, part of West Ham. How many more managers do we need to go through to know that Stein isn't as great as some people are making him out to be? Interesting. Usual. John Terry would be a popular choice because the supporters were always singing about his family. Ronnie, our midfield is not mobile enough to push wing-backs so high. Good point, Jason. Time for Sir Trev to step up again until the end of the season. I take him. Safe pair of hands. Darren, hope Souček is fit for Saturday. Missed him a lot. You know, I said it. The 3rd time I'm going to say it on the show tonight. Who's our best midfielder? Thomas Souček at this moment in time. And we absolutely did miss him on Saturday because he was ill. Sai, need to go back to the basics instead of defenders flying up the pitch. Just stay back and defend. Daniel, I take you to be. Trust me, we'd get relegated overnight, mate. I can talk a good game. I don't think I can manage one. Infamy, if Lopetegui keeps losing until he's fired, people might actually stop calling him the Spanish Moyes. Oh, God. Darren, evening to you, mate. I think Potter would be good for us. Talked about him a lot earlier on, mate. Personally, not for me. I really don't think he'd be the right man. Who knows? If he comes in and does well, I'll take my hat off to him. Robin, it comes to things when we're hoping Souček is fit. There you go. But you know what? When he came on against Man United last weekend, he was a decent. He played really well, and all he did was pass the ball forward. He passed the ball forward, people. Neil, I just want to enjoy watching West Ham again. I want to enjoy watching West Ham again. We'll watch them again this Saturday. Don't know what the score will be, but I'll be there. Jason, seriously though, how ridiculous would it be for Noble to take over? It's not. I know a lot of people like it because the legend and all that. It would be the wrong. It's a bit like Bowen being given the captaincy. He's having his reputation ruined because he's captain. I actually do now agree that he's not vocal enough, not only on the pitch, but also off it as well. He doesn't do interviews and so on and so forth. What I'm worried about is Bowen being the captain. It's going to ruin his reputation at West Ham. And I think Noble knows that if he ever became manager of West Ham, his reputation could also be on the line. I don't think it'd be the right thing to do. Tim, the players we signed only work with a pragmatic manager, paceless in central midfield. Good point. Infamy. Well, there you go. Turgic. Infamy. Let's be real. Full control of transfers or not, it's not going to mean much under a coach who doesn't know what he's doing. So we got a problem, haven't we? We've got a problem where whether we bought the right players or not, as been said before, do we have the right players to play the style of football that Lopetegui wants to play? Lopetegui wants to play possession-based football. Have we got have we got those players to do that? Probably not. Which is why I go back again to, did Stein provide the right resources for Lopetegui to succeed in the style of football that he wants to play? Or is there a discourse between them? Big sigh. Earthy has been mostly injured this season. I see. He was sub at the weekend, though. How about the special one? Well, you all saw the story, didn't you? I'm going to come back to the Premier League and manage a team in the bottom half of the league. Cheeky bastard, saying that we're bottom half of the league team. Yeah, I'll take him just for the fun of it. You know what? We would win a trophy without a shadow of a doubt. He will piss everyone off. He'll become an arrogant shit, but we'd win a trophy. And for that, I'd take him. Robert, in good news, what a team we will have in the future if all the academy boys make it. True. Very true. Andrew, why can Bournemouth and Brighton find young, innovative, progressive managers, but we can't? I know the reason why, and it starts with the Russian dictator, because they have a system in place that allows those kinds of managers to succeed. Agreed. Robin, is Paqueta banned for Saturday? No, he's only on 4 bookings at the moment. Gennaro, I didn't realise that Poch only recently become US manager. Mancini is definitely free. Gets my vote. No to Lamps. Definitely question marks about Steiner. How far behind am I? Not far. Hammerit, what is happening with the discipline on the pitch this season? I can't see that it's all down to Bowen being an inept captain, sorry. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well, because it does look bad. Forgive me. I'm trying to put in as many comments as I can, but I can't read every one of them out. GJ, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I can't be bothered with football this season. I always felt it would be a hard season. Victor Kretinsky on the verge of buying Royal Mail. Won't have time to make decisions where he's never wanted to make decisions at West Ham United. Did I finish the thing I was saying about he was interviewed? Yes, I didn't finish it. He was interviewed last season about his time at Sparta Prague, being in football, being involved in football, etc. And he was asked about West Ham, and he said, if I had to take over West Ham, I'd have to give up. I'd have to relinquish ownership or main shareholder at Sparta Prague. And Sparta Prague is my love. Let's look at Sparta Prague. With all the money he's got, why have they not become, a massive, massive team in Europe, to go and win trophies and stuff like that? Because he hasn't invested. I know he's going to build a new stadium or whatever is going to improve the current stadium. But if he's not going to invest money in Sparta Prague, the love of his life, do you honestly think he's going to do that for West Ham? No. He is an investor. He doesn't make decisions at West Ham. He's part of the entourage. He's part of the board, and they all talk about this, that, and the other. But the final decision maker is Sullivan, which is why when I was asked earlier about, Kretinsky has brought Steiden in, no is the answer. I don't think he did. Infamy. Let's hire Iniesta once he gets his coaching credentials, throw right into the fire of the frying. Do you know what? That might work. That might work. Who knows? Put fresh. Sean, what are you doing to people? Middlesbrough, Southgate? No. He's winding you up. Who else have we got? Southgate managed Middlesbrough in the Premier League, took them down, and not doing too well at the moment in the Championship. Gaz, think we need to clear the air online, Q&A with members of the board and Noble. Let's know the truth and the direction we're going. The fans deserve. I would love that to happen. It never will, but wouldn't that be wonderful? Right, 331 people watching. I'm going to do my begging bowl again. If you've just come to this channel for the first time and you've not yet subscribed, why haven't you subscribed? Please hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. If you've come to this channel before and even if you've seen this channel before and you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Whether you're a subscriber or not, please hit the bloody like button, because once you do, it elevates this channel. I become even more famous than I am. I know I'm not. I'm winding you up. But please hit the like button as well. Sean, Southgate, no, there you go. See, he's won your faith again. Anthos, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Navadius, back Lopetegui with proper midfielders, and let's see if he can turn things around. It's too harsh to get rid of him that easily. I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, Navadius, I talked earlier in the show, I think we had players who could have done something in the middle of the park. Flynn Downs, for example, who's playing regularly for Southampton. Southampton may well go down, but I like Downs. Would he have been any worse than Andy Irving? I would have kept him at West Ham. Sean, The Southgate comment was for, didn't he manage Middlesbrough in the Premier League and take them down? Oh, sorry. Okay. Sean, Thomas Frank, 9 million aside, but if he was up for the job, would he jump now at this stage of the season? He seems to have integrity. Whether he would let Brentford down, I don't think he would. Would he come at the end of the season? Possibly. True culture. Good evening to you. I hope you're well. It's fair to say some West Ham fans overreacting on sacking the coach because some were complaining about the previous coach being too defensive. There you go. We want it all, don't we, True culture? We want everything on our plate. Stephen, did you hear the rumours Tim wants out? You know, Tim is whoring himself on social media. You know, if a club came for Tim Steidten, who were above us in stature, he would be off like a shot, without a shadow of a doubt. Ronnie, did Southgate relegate Middlesbrough from the Premier League? I don't know. Sean, did he relegate Middlesbrough from the Premier League? I don't know. Gennaro, the zombie apocalypse holds no fear for me, but David Sullivan's next managerial appointment does. Infamy, which would fit us better? A manager with Premier League experience, coaching experience, or one from a smaller league? At this moment in time, I think we need stability. So Premier League experience, probably. Navadius, what? It depends on what smaller league you mean. I mean, if you're talking about maybe a Spanish league or, we've been there, haven't we? We're there now. If you're talking about Spanish league maybe, or even Portuguese league or Italian league or German league, would you say, I mean, you know, or even a Scandinavian league, or, you know, I mean, some of these managers have come in and they've done really well from smaller leagues. So that's actually an interesting question. I immediately jumped for Premier League coaching experience, but I wonder now. Novadius, Sebastian Hunes has £7-8 million release clause in case we need it. We can forget that because Sullivan ain't paying any release clause. Andrew, Thomas Frank comes across as a very good manager and would be I think he would be a good choice, definitely. Darren, bring Harry back. Done brilliant when he was at West Ham. Apart from the brown paper envelopes with money in it. You didn't hear that from me. Would love to come back to West Ham for one more chance. I think he's past it, to be honest. Peter, 6, maybe 7 below average managers and coaches West Ham has had in the last 15 years. We haven't done well with managers, have we? Apart from some Scottish bloke that got us into European final. Anthos, if Lopetegui knew how to set up, he'd do it with these players too. Yeah, it's a fair point. You see the other side of it. Trodge, the good one at Bayern obviously went to Villa, and we got the PR Weasley one. True culture. Football is a game that more than a team attack. Football is a game that the more a team attacks, sometimes gives other teams chances to score off counterattacks if the defense is not at its best. And that's what seems to be happening with us at the moment. Hammerette, for me, I don't want this sacking rubbish to drag on all season like it did last season. 5 games, 3 games, rinse, repeat. It's infuriating. I agree with that to a point. Yeah. You was there. I hope you enjoyed it. We stayed overnight. I don't know why. Mind you, Nottingham is quite an interesting place. Didn't realise it was full of students. Well, I should have realised it's full of students. Every bar we went to was packed full of students in fancy dress. Sean, 5 games in and all the gobshite spouting off. It's a disgrace. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Howard. I do find it funny that this YouTube bollock stumbled into League Gunner's room and they're calling for Arteta to get sacked. What? YouTube. I mean, who'd do it, eh? Real Simpsons, good evening to you. Do me a favour. Lopetegui is 100% to blame for this debacle. He's had months and months to implement his plan to improve players. Haven't a clue what he's trying to do. Haven't seen anyone improve. Yeah, I get that. I've seen pockets, as I said it earlier in the show, but not enough, not consistently enough. You know, and as someone else just said, you know, he should be able to set his team up in the right way. Has he got the right players, though? Colin, if they sack Lopetegui, are the players going to start performing miracles? Happened before with other teams. Victor, if Lopetegui goes, I would bring in Keane and Nolan. Nolan. Are you on about Nolan from last season or Noble? I'm guessing you mean Nolan. To run the first team on an interim basis, bring the Bournemouth manager in the summer when his contract runs out. Leslie, Areola is out of contract in June. Should we wait? Won't cost a lot to get him now, I guess. Yeah, won't cost a lot. Trodge, Alvarez got married and came back half the player. He's shagging too much. Neil, surely though still part of being decent coach manager is you can adapt your approach to make the best use of the resources available to you. Somerville, well, here's a point. Somerville, I agree. I think Somerville, I was pissed off that Somerville came off at half time. I'm pissed off that Somerville hasn't really got really cracking under this coach. And I agree with that bit. The other part of your comment about using the best, adapting your approach. Here's the thing with Lopetegui. He's tried to adapt his approach. He's gone with 3 at the back or 5 at the back. He went with a sweeper last week in the second half of the game against Man United. He's gone with 4. He's gone with 4-3-3. He's gone with a 4-1-4-1. He has, ironically, tried to adapt to suit the players or whatever he thinks he's best. And then people are going, he's tinkering too much. He's making too many changes, etc. So in a way, we can't have it both ways. I just question, has he found the right formula yet? Probably not for the players that he's got. Has he got much time to do it? Probably not as well, because I also agree with, he's had all pre-season. Well, he hasn't had all pre-season because he didn't have an awful lot of the players available to him when the season started. We were still buying players right at the end of the transfer window when the season had started. So is it fair on him, that he's getting this stick? I think there are times when I'm looking and going, I get it. And there are other times when I'm going, what on earth is going on? I'm of both opinions. There have been games, and I've said it in previous shows when we played against, even if we didn't win, I sat there and I went, we didn't win, but I've seen this and I've seen that, and talked about the formation, talked about the style, more possession, having more shots on target, etc. All that is statistically true. And then there've been other games where I've sat there and I've scratched my head. I looked at the game on Saturday and I went, what? Ironically, the game on Saturday, when we started with a 3 at the back, I actually said, oh, right, okay. I was advocating for that. Well done. Didn't work. So I don't know really, because 1 minute I'm going, I see it, I get it, it's just not clicking. And the next minute I'm going, fuck me, what is going on? I'm really of that mindset of like 1 minute I see it, next minute I don't. At the weekend, I didn't see it at all. And then, of course, we got a player sent off, which made it even worse. Matt, are we really blaming Steidem more than Loppy for this mess? He has been given more than enough in the window to at least show some attacking style of play. All the gear, no idea. Thank you, Sean. Really appreciated. 7.5 subs I got recently. Really appreciate that. Debbie and Mark. Mark, good evening, mate. Should we go for an Italian manager? His name is Samuelino Aladieccio. Aka Sam Allardyce in Italian disguise. God, mate, can you imagine? That'd be worse than Moyes, I think. Colin, Stel, this would be my team for Everton. Fabianski, see? Straight away, I think Areola should be back in goal. But anyway, we'll leave that till another day. Wan-Bissaka, Tolibo, Kilman, Rodriguez as a sweeper. Somerville, Souček, Soler, Bowen, Antonio, Guilherme up front. I don't want Antonio in the team, but we've got no choice. Why not play Ings? Somerville, I agree. Rodriguez sweeper, we've just been saying. We're pretty weak in midfield, but again, at this moment in time, we've got no choice. I haven't seen enough of Soler to tell me that he's Premier League quality. Souček, though, I agree with. Ian, as a Forest fan, why did let Ward-Prowse out on loan? Because we thought we'd be getting better. Ian, that's what we really thought. Charles, at the moment, I've got pneumonia, but it's less painful than watching. Well, I wish you the best, mate, and recover soon. Anthos, let's ask Birmingham City how they got rid of Sullivan. This is vital to our progression because West Ham became available and they had to sell that to get West Ham. That's how they got rid of him. Andrew, Alvarez hasn't looked committed since being linked to Man United like a player who wants out, in my opinion. Good point. James, evening to you, mate. Hopefully not. You haven't missed anything at all, apart from an hour and 39 minutes. I hope you're well, James. Thank you for joining, mate. Leslie, question. Do you think certain players have stopped playing for the coach? I know lost the coach. You got to look at what's going on with all these yellow cards and suspensions and all that, and you do have to start asking yourself whether he has or not lost the players. Anthos, fans can forget Europe and winning a trophy. It ain't going to happen within 5 years. Navadius, I mean, Eddie from Arsenal is available. I wouldn't budge. I wouldn't budge about losing Tim. Which Eddie is available from Arsenal, mate? David Moyes is left bollock. Is he available? Hello, still. I'm very well. Sky Sports released a statement saying J-Lo under pressure, and if we don't beat Everton, he could be released off his duty with old Dortmund manager waiting in the wings. Yeah, we talked an awful lot. A lot of people don't want Terzic, apparently. They say he's quite pragmatic. Well, I think maybe a bit of pragmatism is what we need at this moment in time. Jerry, Lopetegui has to go. What about no? I respect the opinions, but why would we think that just because he supports West Ham, why would we think that Will Still, who didn't really do that well in the French league, would actually come and do really well in the Premier League? Sorry, I'm late tonight. In case his name has already been mentioned, maybe Will Still. No, I do respect your opinion, but Will Still, no. We got to get out of this. We've got to get out of this mindset. And I'm not having a go at you, Jerry, but we've got to get out of this mindset. Oh, Noble, because he's West Ham through and through. Will Still, because he's a West Ham fan. Carrick, because he played for West Ham. That doesn't mean it'll be successful. Will Still did not do too well at a French club. You know, mid-table, was it lower mid-table or whatever? So why do we think he'll do well at a Premier League club when it's much, much more competitive than the French league? No disrespect to the French league. Gennaro, it doesn't matter who the owners are. Look at Newcastle. What's the point of having unlimited funds if you can't spend them? FFP is a scam. I totally agree with that bit. Bezel, good evening to you. I wanted Terzic this past summer. I like how he already knows how the club things work. Start again. I wanted Terzic this past summer. I like how he already knows how the club likes things to go and knows what to expect. I wouldn't be against Terzic if he became available, to be honest. Andrew, yeah, we talked about that, and it's a load of bollocks. And it really is a load of bollocks. He will go in summer, and it may well be to Arsenal, but not in January. GJ, I could tell you something about Redknapp, but I won't. Probably something I've already heard. But we'll have a little chat after if you want. Charles, getting in a decent coaches like West Ham, getting a decent striker. Well, boy, they go hand in hand, don't they? Infamy. This past weekend, I thought Ange was at risk of getting sacked until Spurs came back and beat Villa. Smashed them 4-1. Good evening to you, Clive. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Infamy. Amazing how we were trying to get Solanke a couple of seasons ago, only for him to end up at one of our biggest rivals. James Sullivan. How far behind am I now? Good grief, I'm trying to catch up. Sullivan has to be careful this season. Doesn't get too bad, which will hurt transfer fees for players. That is a good point. Right, I'm going to take a break. Let's go into the next part of the show, which is a very brief match review, but you all know we're going to carry on talking about Lopetegui. So where do we start about the game? Oh, come on. All right. Look, I said it a moment ago. I like the idea that we went through at the back. I actually did. I thought, well, wow, good, because I was advocating maybe this is how he will get the best out of the players. And my reasoning for this was pretty simple. Three at the back meant that you fill that centre back, the central defensive roles, which means that the central midfielders will have that extra body already at the back. It would also mean that you could use Wan-Bissaka and Emerson as wing backs, and you can sort of use them as attacking players, etc. And I thought it made sense. So I didn't really mind that we went through at the back at the weekend. But then the one good thing that I thought he did, and then he fluffed it by doing something like I thought, well, hang on a minute, where's our front man? Because when you go with three at the back and you got wing backs, your wing backs are meant to be. I know Wan-Bissaka isn't the best of crossers, but the idea is you have your wing backs in order to get the ball into the box to your target man. But the target man was on the bench, and even though he isn't the best target man we've got, he's all we've got, being Antonio. And then I was looking at the midfield, and I couldn't work out. What was it? Was it 5 at the back, 4 and 1? Was it 5 at the back and then 3 and 2 with Somerville and Bowen up front? I couldn't quite work out the formation. It just looked to be a bit shaky. And I guess this is why I walked away from that game thinking, what's happened? What did I just watch? And then, having three at the back, you'd say to yourself, I was actually quite glad that Somerville played, and I thought maybe he'll use his pace down the wings. But either he was being fluffed out or I couldn't see him down the wings. He wasn't really that effective in his position. And then I thought to myself, well, okay, then, three at the back, it means we're going to be tighter at the back. And then what happens? And then Chris Wood comes up and is given the freedom of the park, freedom of the 6-yard box to score his 8th goal of the season. We were standing right behind the goal. And we saw Chris Wood just standing there waiting for the ball to be crossed. I couldn't believe it. 3 central defenders and Chris Wood was unmarked to get his 8th goal of the season. And then I just kind of knew from there that, to be honest with you, I think most of us knew that we weren't going to get back in this. Now, here's the irony with Chris Wood. Had a shit time at Newcastle. He's gone to Forest and Santo, and this is a good coach. Santo is making the best use of the players he has available to him, because he's just said to Chris Wood, you stay in the middle, mate. We'll get the ball to you. You do what you have to do and get that ball in the net. And we'll get that supply to you. We don't have that at the moment, whether it be Antonio keeps going out too wide. Bowen, as everyone keeps saying, is not a target man. He's not, but play it on the ground. And we've got enough players that can play it on the ground. And we should be making enough chances for the likes of Bowen to be scoring left, right, and centre. But we're not. And it just goes to show that Chris Wood, being 32 years of age, if he's used properly, he'll score you goals. We don't use the players we have available to us properly. So maybe that does go back to what a lot of you have been saying with regards to the current coach. He's not making the best use of the resources available to him. And then at death in the first half, of course, Alvarez had a rush of blood to his head. And we could see it again. When you're standing behind the goal, you could see it. And we all said almost collectively, don't jump in. Don't jump in. Oh, he's jumped in. And we knew he was going to be sent off straight away. And that gives us a mountain to climb, doesn't it? It worries me. And someone I think it was Hamret, who mentioned about the number of bookings we're getting. We're getting an awful lot of bookings. Let's go into the second half. He took Somerville off, which I found astonishing, and he brought Antonio on, who would look like he was blowing out of his arse after 15 minutes. He brought Soler on. Both were ineffective, but all right, we were a man down, and we were poor. And now we've got players. We're going to be, the next game against Everton, we've got Kudus missing. We've got Alvarez missing for that game. Paqueta is on 1 booking away from picking up his 5th yellow card of the season. And if he plays on Saturday, I guarantee you, Paqueta will get booked. So we go into the international break. He will go off to Brazil, and he won't play again until the Arsenal game. He'll miss Newcastle. So I do ask the question, what on earth is going on with our discipline? I don't understand it. Alvarez is second sending off of the season. Kudus uncharacteristically lashing out in the Spurs game. And this is after we heard what happened at half-time in the game against Brentford, where he apparently lost it against Lopetegui. And aside from Paqueta, we've got Soler, Emerson, Kilman, Souček, Rodriguez, all on 3 yellow cards each. Is that down to frustration? I don't know. Perhaps it is. By the way, just a quickie. If you like Kilman, if you're a Kilman fan, for your chance to win a Max Kilman signed and framed West Ham shirt, as well as the chance to win 15 instant West Ham prizes, go to footballprizes.co.uk for all the details of the competition, including terms and conditions. Competition ends at 7:30 on Wednesday, the 6th of November. Right, so I can get back to the game now. What is going on? Is that down to we see what the head coach does on the sidelines. He loses it. He's ranting, he's raving, he's shouting. He's not a calm man, is he? By any stretch of the imagination. He's not calm. Is that rubbing off on the players? Is that why we're picking up so many cards? Is that why Alvarez, we know he's a hothead. We actually had hello to Dennis, by the way. Forgot to mention Dennis. The reason why we stayed over at Nottingham at the weekend is because Dennis, he's from Netherlands. He's a Utrecht fan. He came over. We got him a ticket for the game, and he came over, and we thought, well, we'll do a night out. Show Dennis what a night out in England's like. We just got really pissed, really. But Dennis said to us, look, I said this when you signed. He's a Utrecht fan and he's a West Ham fan, by the way. Before you go, what? You got someone a ticket for that? No, he's a West Ham fan too. And he said, the minute Ajax sold Alvarez to West Ham, he said, watch out. He's going to get you lots of yellow cards and lots of sending off. And lo and behold, that's exactly what's going on. But so he's a bit of a hothead. But why are we picking up so many cards? Why did Kudus lose it twice now? Not only on the at halftime at Brentford, but also against on the pitch. There's one thing being sent off for the challenge on Van der Ven or whatever his name is, but quite another thing for this anger to sort of like ball over and then go lunging at another player as well. And it's a concern. Is this because of someone like Lopetegui, who seems to be quite hot-headed himself when he's watching the game from the sidelines? I don't know. It's an odd one. We've got Everton this weekend, and as you've all said yourselves in the chat, the senior sources apparently said it's a must-win game. You read into that what you will. Some people are reading into it that it's a must-win game. If we don't win, then Lopetegui's gone. It could well be. With Kudus and Alvarez missing, it's going to be interesting to see who Lopetegui plays and what formation he adopts against Everton this coming weekend. Because, frankly, I can no longer second guess what he's going to do, and I guess that's the frustration for me. Because maybe I like the pragmatic approach, but I can't understand. Like I said earlier in the show, sometimes I understand what I think he's trying to achieve with the formation, with the setup, etc. And there are other times where I just scratch my head and go, I'm not sure what you're planning to do. I don't know what formation is going to put out at the weekends. As you guys have been saying, should we have our fullbacks marauding forward, rather than just staying back and defending? Maybe that's the way it should be. A solid back four, solid back line. Maybe that's the way it should be. I don't know. But we do also have a problem in midfield, the centre of midfield. We seem to be a little bit lightweight. And I said, probably for the fourth time tonight, probably our best central midfielder at the moment is Thomas Souček, who puts effort in. He may not be the best or the most skillful player, but he'll put his neck on the line for West Ham when need be. So I don't know. The game was it was awful. We knew. The minute we went a goal down, we knew we weren't going to get back into it. Made it even worse with Alvarez being sent off. I'm not blaming Alvarez for the defeat. I think we lost the minute we went a goal down. I just didn't see we had one shot on target in the first half. I think we had maybe a couple of other shots in the second half, but that was about it. There's a lot to do. Will Lopetegui get it right? Can he get it right? I think when we played Ipswich, it was a false dawn. When we beat Man United, I think we played all right in the second half. And I think we were fortuitous. We got a bit of luck. But why not get a bit of luck? But I think we played pretty decent football. If we play decent football against Everton, we'll beat them. But I'm just not sure if we will. Anthos, it's a good job Lopetegui watched us for 6 months, or else we would have been in trouble. Hang on. Infamy. Might as well get Guilherme more minutes. How things are going with the squad currently, I don't disagree with that. Give him 10, 15 minutes and see what might happen. Victor, Lopetegui keeps picking Paqueta when his form has been really poor. Yeah, I agree. And I just wonder if Souček wasn't ill at the weekend, would Paqueta have been picked? I think maybe not. True culture. It seems like the coach doesn't get the right system that fits the players he's got right now. Yep, agreed. Fat Git, good evening to you. Bring Moyes back and pay him in porridge oats every time we win. GJ, I think as little as 33 points is enough to survive this season. God, are we really talking about relegation already? MJ, so many calls for Bowen up top when he is in the striker. Tried it again at the weekend. It doesn't work. He's much more effective on the right. I disagree. And I'll tell you why I disagree. Because last season, when Kudus played out on the right and Bowen played mainly in the centre of attack, He scored 20 goals for the club. So I disagree. You play it in the right way. You put Kudus out on the right, or you put Kudus as a number 10 and then keep Bowen on the right. But those systems, Kudus on the right, Bowen in the middle, or Bowen on the right, Kudus in the middle, those systems will work because it was proven to work last season when he became our top goal scorer with over 20 goals. Mr. Turner, good evening to you. Sloppy gravy is a dead man walking. Why are we wasting time and sitting on our hands? He will go this season. Why wait is so frustrating. A lot of people have been saying much the same thing. I think let's see what happens if we lose. If we win at the weekend, he'll stay. If we lose, I said earlier in the show, he might still be given the next couple of games, but we'll see. Infamy, 4-3-3 lineup while Kudus is suspended, maybe. Either Areola or Fabianski in goal. Emerson, Kilman, Todibo, Wan-Bissaka. Souček, Irvin, Guilherme. Somerville as left wing. Paqueta as a false number 9. And Bowen as a right winger. Yeah, maybe take that. But I seriously think Paqueta should be dropped. MJ, Areola back in 100%. Good evening to you. Thank you. I think Areola should be back in with the greatest of respect to Fabianski. Adam, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good to catch you live. Thank you, mate. Sorry I've missed you the last few weeks, but I've been watching in playback. Thank you for doing so. Clive, bring Zola back. He never got a real chance to succeed. I think people might start throwing stones at you there, Clive. GJ, I haven't watched a game this season. Can't be bothered. I'm so not interested. There have been one or two moments. One or two. Colin, bring back Soufal, a bit of grit in the back. And you know what? That's not a bad shout. But would you seriously drop Wan-Bissaka? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with Wan-Bissaka. James, why did we give up on Mavro at right back and Wan-Bissaka at left? Don't know. But that also proved to be quite good. Mark, Edin Terzic knew how to use Fulkrug to full effect, and Terzic is only 42. Fits the bill for a coach we want to be along with us on the journey, and he took Dortmund to the champion. I seriously wouldn't mind Terzic and see what happens. True culture. What's the reason why you don't want Antonio in the team? Because in all honesty, compare him to Chris Wood. Chris Wood is a central striker. He knows what his job is. Stay in the middle of the park. Wait for the ball to come to you. Don't go looking for it out on the wing. Because Antonio, when he goes out on the wing, it means we've got no one in the middle. And then when he gets the ball and he does lovely crosses, he's not crossing it to anyone. And I know 34 years of age, we should have replaced Antonio with the greatest of respect a long, long time ago. And yet here we are, another season, reliant on Antonio to lead the line yet again. And I think it's a disappointment. Fulkrug, would he have been a good replacement? I don't know. He won't go out looking for the ball out on the wings. He will stay. He will be a bit of a Chris Wood, where he'll be waiting for the ball in the middle and waiting for it to be crossed to him. Infamy. Actually, replace Wan-Bissaka for Soufal for that 4-3-3. Might as well give him some more minutes, considering how things are going. Colin, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Never asked for money, but I thank you so much for making that donation. Much appreciated. Nando, that was my point regarding JM. He's a serial winner. Who else have we got here? Andrew, I can't believe Potts would have been any worse than Rodriguez or Alvarez in midfield. Absolutely agree. I should have kept him. Really. When we sold Downs, I thought to myself, well, clearly that means Potts is going to be in and amongst the senior team. And then when he went out on loan, I went, oh. Epic. Will Still has only lost one game this season. I still don't think he's good enough for Premier League football. Victor, do you think Soler will look better when he's played in his natural position, which is central, and will need to play more than one game, needs to run of games? Possibly. Yes, possibly. 6x9, Danny, good evening to you. Yes, Stel, Will Still. It's like people that say Carrick and O'Neill. Absolute shite. I wouldn't say he's shite, but I don't think he's right for Premier League management. Will Still is doing amazing in the French league. He is doing amazing now with Lens. Okay, fair enough. I didn't follow him. I know who's the other team he managed. Okay, I'll take that back. He's still not good enough for the Premier League, though. Who else have we got here? Real Simpsons. Noble is the ball snitch that lied to fans to get us out of Upton Park. I've never trusted him. Infamy. Maybe Foderingham can have his David Martin moment against Everton or Arsenal. Let's skip that one, shall we? Clive, surely we want a winner in the dugout. It don't matter where he's from or who he supports, as long as he wins. That's what's important. Win. That's winning. That's what I do. Who said that? Who was the Scottish manager that said winning, that's what I do? Can't remember. Peter, I've always said we should give the new coach till the new year to start improving our position in the Premier League. I think that's what he might get. Let's see what the next couple of games bring up. Tim, Wan-Bissaka is not a wing. I keep hearing this. Wan-Bissaka is not a wing back. It's the moon to him. If you're going to play wing back, then you have to play Soufal. Not saying we should, but cannot play Wan-Bissaka. And yet, he absolutely pulverized Man United last weekend in that wing-back role, to be really honest. And he's played pretty well throughout that season. The one thing that's missing in his locker, he can't cross the ball. But as, getting down there, marauding forward, intricate 1-2s and all that sort of stuff, he's done pretty well, to be honest with you. Robert, Soufal played midfield and winger in his younger days. Would you use him as a midfielder? Central midfield, holding defense, central midfield. See how he fares. He'll get stuck in, won't he? PMCC. And yet we complain when we play players out of position. Anyway, PMCC. Yes, Anang has been superb for Pats. League of Ireland is about English League level 1. I've always liked Anang. I'm glad he's doing well. Super little keeper. Trodge, I liked Heggie, but he cannot get game time at Motherwell. He's being wasted there. Heggie, unfortunately, he's not getting any game time whatsoever. Pierino, good evening to you. Too much stuff going on with players. Kudus red card, halftime bust up, Alvarez 2 reds, Emerson not playing well, Areola not distributing well. Generally, the players not playing for the manager. Interesting. We've talked about that, about the red cards and everything just now. Toha, PMC, I'm pleased for him with regards to Anang. Euro football qualifiers anyway next season. Good for him. I'm pleased. I'm pleased that some of our younger players have gone on to forge careers elsewhere. James, my neighbour is a Palace fan and said Wan-Bissaka is a good wing back. I think he can do it, to be honest. Danny, at least Mavropanos tried to close. He's got there, but the ball was lifted by the crosser. 4 defenders all marking Scotch missed. I would be embarrassed even in my vets team. 3 central defenders and not one of them was marking him. Hammerit, stupid of Alvarez. Can't accept that cost us the game. Can't accept it cost us the game, though. They would teach us a new one, tearing us a new one the entire match. They were indeed. Mandy, good evening to you. I hope you're well. I've watched 11 individuals play on Saturday. Quite worrying to see your manager no wiser after a pre-season and 10 games in. Yeah, it's what we've been talking about all night, Mandy. Nice of you to join. I hope you're well. PMCC, Brendan, I'm delighted for Anang. He's finished on a high as Pats won their last 9 games. Good for him, I'm pleased. Montana, Loppy is a fraud. Wolves fan told us. Then they know what they're talking about. Anthos. O'Neill's not doing that much better, though, is he? Anthos, think Lopetegui needs help picking the starting lineup. Maybe we could send him a letter telling him he gets the money. Fans pick the team. Montana, still, now we won't get Eddie Howe anymore. Still my first pick to replace Loppy. Yeah, I think that ship sailed. Anthos, Loppy's loopy style, a nervous wreck, already twitching more than on the touchline. Big sigh. Alvarez, last season, 31 games, 11 yellows, no reds. So far this season, 8 games, 4 yellows, 1 red. Not good. Brian, so if we just squeak by Everton and he keeps his job, kick that can, Sullivan. Quicker he leaves, the better chance we have of salvaging the season. That's what I think. I said that earlier on, Brian. Unfortunately, if we win, it will be a respite. Look what happened with Moyes last season. We won the odd game. It kept going, didn't it? Kept going. Montana. Still, I read from Whetstone. Loopy will get until December. I believe that too. Where did this new info come probably from the senior source. Danny, unless, of course, we lose our next 3 games, and then he'll go sooner. Danny, we were crap, but look at the Man United game. Game of 2 halves. Can't do anything with 10 men, and it was so rash and stupid of Alvarez. Begains, good evening to you. Loppy's record not so great. He only lasted 120 days and 14 games at Real Madrid. Don't rate him at all. Victor. Brighton head coach Fabian Herzler got the job based on getting FC Pauli promoted from the Bundesliga 2 to the top league in Germany. Would we take a coach with a record like that? Probably not. But I go back to what I said about Brighton and their setup. Brighton have got a formula. Brighton have got a system. They absolutely got it spot on with their coaching, their technical analysis of who they want to bring in, the scouts, etc. They got it spot on. All they got to do is get a half decent coach to come in and manage or coach that team, which is why I said earlier on in the show, I didn't necessarily think Potter is that great a coach because he would just fell into that system. Hamlet, should Loppy get sacked within the next 5 games, he'll be the only manager in top flight football to be sacked twice within 15 games. Real Simpsons, we've been battered in almost every single game. That's the reality, and that is true. Navadius, think Bowen should stay as a striker. He's great when he has to be direct, but when we have a slow possession and rely on him to go 1v1 against defenders, he doesn't deliver. One of the reasons of struggling. Good analysis. Sean, I would rather start with Ings. I think he's better than Antonio now. Can't disagree with that. Trini, we can't play a false number 9, no striker, whatever. It's ridiculous. And I think that's how we played on Saturday, unless I'm mistaken. Who else have we got? Gennaro. I think the disciplinary problem are down to pure frustration. You're probably right there. It's either tactics or the manager not having the players he's asked for. If the latter is the case, that's on Steidem, which is what I was saying earlier in the show. Montana. Lopetegui is full of crap. Every interview is copy and paste. He does say, someone said it earlier on, he says sorry an awful lot, doesn't he? Novadius, our defense is not the problem. God damn it, guys. It's everything else. Midfield and attackers are letting the team down. No defense, way too static attack. Yeah, we did say that. We talked about not having a great spine of the team. And in central midfield, we've got quite a problem there. Who else we got? Trini. I don't think our wing backs are effective enough to play through at the back. People seem to forget Soufal cannot cross, and he's also got skin regularly. No, the irony, I'm going to hang on. It's Wan-Bissaka that can't cross very well, but he's great going forward. It's Soufal who does cross quite well, but not always great. Well, and when he goes forward, the unfortunate thing with Wan-Bissaka, he should be getting back in time. He's got the pace for it, but Soufal, when he's caught out of position, he doesn't have the pace to get back. MJ. I'll take Potter all day long at West Ham, to be honest, still. Anyone who mentions his Chelsea stint as reference is laughable. No manager has succeeded there in recent employments. Didn't mention the Chelsea thing. Nothing to do with that. What I've always said is that he went into a system at Brighton that, look, other managers have come in and have done equally as well, if not actually, no, not equally as well. They've done better than Potter when he was at Brighton. It's Brighton I'm talking about. You go into a system. They got a system. They got this. The owner of the club has got this algorithm apparently about transfers and players and all that. And they've got this thing where they identify. Look at the players they picked up over the last few years. Quite amazing. They buy players in for next to nothing and sell them for a hell of a lot of money. And they've been churning them out. And every time a player goes, you think they might get weaker. And in fact, they get stronger. And they do exactly the same with their coaches. They bring a coach in, it does okay. They bring another coach in, does even better. Another coach does even better. It's the system that they got there. That's why I don't think Potter would succeed outside of that system. About Chelsea, yeah, I agree with you. Never going to succeed there. Gennaro, I feel so for Lopetegui's passion. I feel so for Lopetegui. Passionate and seems like a decent man. No doubt the true story will come out eventually. Brendan Rodgers couldn't do much worse, I don't think. Robert, you are correct about Antonio. Starting Antonio getting games this season reflects on the team's lack of progression. Real Simpsons, Fulkrug has a known and horrific injury record. I know, with previous clubs missing most of the season. Still, team, I think, for Lopetegui, you've changed it. 4-1-4-1, Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Emerson, Rodriguez as a sweeper, Somerville, Souček, Paqueta, Bowen, Antonio up front. I would drop Antonio and I would drop Paqueta, honestly. Victor, Forest manager plays to Chris Woods' strength. Exactly that. We need to do the same when Fulkrug is fully fit. Steve McLaren said it too in a Nigerian accent. Do you know? Well, where was he? Was he when he went to? It was in the Netherlands. He tried to do a Dutch accent or something. Trini, Wan-Bissaka does not enjoy playing wing back. He's not naturally attacking. He developed that side of his game at Man United. He's an exceptional at defending. Don't disagree with that. Troj, Wan-Bissaka isn't even that good at defending. He said, I don't know. I think he is good at defending, to be honest. Brian, I believe Soler is a good player, but he has not been transitioned to this league properly. He should have been gradually given more time in his prime position. He's off track now and confidence is low. Mandy, we need a rebuild. We need another rebuild. We've just had one. 20 million for Guilherme, 28 million for the German Scarlet Pimpernel, Costas, Duran, and maybe Amorim. Talked about Amorim earlier on. Don't get me started on him again. He did it. He talked to the press at the weekend, and he said he was never coming to West Ham United. And he never had a deal agreed with West Ham United. So why on earth? And he had no intention of leaving Sporting. So why on earth did he bother to come to West Ham? There you go. I'm on it. Why on earth did he bother to come to West Ham? Because he was putting himself in the shop window and he knew that Liverpool were looking for a manager. That's why he came to West Ham, because he was putting himself in the shop window. Novadius, Kudus to Arsenal, swap with Rice, and I'm good. Kudus to Arsenal. He will go to a big team at the end of the season. But all this rubbish about him going in January is literally just that. Kudus and Alvarez should apologise to us fans for their red cards, showed they're not happy or care for the club with this manager. Who else we got? Wan-Bissaka, Andrew, final ball is his weakest link. Nando, in my experience, still discipline is a reflection of the man. Yeah, it's what I mentioned. That's why, looking at the number of yellow cards we've been getting and red cards, we've seen Lopetegui losing it on the sidelines. Is it a reflection of that? Mandy, look at the money we wasted pre-season. Guido, when we needed a box-to-box, he came for nothing, by the way. Fulkrug, when we needed a striker, yeah, that was a waste of money. And 18 million for the youngster. And that is, use him, play Guilherme, see what you get for 10, 15 minutes. Mark, what has happened with our corners and set pieces? We've been pretty crap for quite a while, offensively and defensively, out of sorts. Troj, people see lunging Wan-Bissaka tackles where he tracks back really well and makes last-ditch tackles. Well, that's good, though, isn't it? At least he gets the ball. Marco Silva, Thomas Frank would work magic with our squads. Absolutely. Both in work. West Ham won't buy him out. Won't buy either of them out of their contracts. Troj, I would rather a defender that's in position and don't need to do that. Oh, yeah, fair play. Montana. Still, how true are the Conceição rumours? They're not, unfortunately. Matt, no wing-backs, in my opinion. It's no more wing-backs, in my opinion. That means he's got to tell, basically, Matt, if he doesn't want them to maraud forward, he'll say, you've got to stay in position. Let the midfielders do that job. Because that's what's doing us in at the moment. Hammer, cheer up, Hammers. It's not as bad as it has been, and we're not in the bottom three yet. Gary, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Biggest issue with sacking Lopetegui is I don't trust them to bring anyone better in. I think they would just bring in more of the same. Southgate, Moyes, anyone? Lee, guess who just got in from work in the USA? Me all evening. Good evening, Lee. Thank you for joining, mate. I hope you're well. Like I said to the other chaps that are from America, I hope you're looking forward to the election tomorrow. Oh, boy. That is going to be a shit show. Mandy, Miss Daisy Ings and a battering ram that loves the wing. Darren, Bowen and Anthony and Kudus are West Ham's best players. Bowen and Antonio and Kudus. Bowen and Kudus are no for Antonio. Greatest of respect. Toho, the players were going to crash Spanglish language course during the international break in the hope they understand what Lopetegui says. Andrew, Franco Baresi, one of the most intelligent defenders ever, was world class. When did he finish playing out? 43 or something? GJ, I was at my friend's house and he said someone had taken a $5 off his shelf. I go to the toilet and it's on the floor. I said if I found it in the toilet, he wouldn't believe me, so I nicked it. That was a bit left field. Hammer it. We have not convincingly won a game yet aside from Ipswich. Even after a win, we don't feel confident of going on a run thereafter. We can't start with our strongest 11. Why not give Ings a run out. Yeah, why not? Seriously, I wouldn't mind seeing what might happen. Novelius, I would only replace Lopetegui with Potter. The only good replacement. My feelings have been made clear on Graham Potter. I don't think he's our best option. I've still got 290 watching. If you've yet to subscribe and you've only just found this channel, please do hit the subscribe button. Please do hit the like button as well. Much appreciated. Andrew, we should test Brentford's resolve. For Frank, I think he's ready for a bigger challenge, and I think he will come. I think he might do, and I would like him to come to West Ham as well. Alan, I know he's not top quality, but for me, Souček has put in a shift every game, performed better than the majority of the team, yet he still gets a bad press. Totally and utterly agree with you. And this will be the 5th time I've said it tonight. I think Souček is our best central midfielder this season. PMCC, I wonder, Cat's trying to come in. I wonder, would the West Ham job attract Thomas Frank? Bigger club historically than Brentford with a bigger stadium and resources. Yes, I think it would if he was approached, to be honest. Anthony, Paqueta and Kudus, Alvarez, yellow and red cards show that they've got the boot in. At least they are trying to put themselves about. I get that bit, but Alvarez's red cards have been unnecessary and Kudus's red card was stupid, to be honest. Trini, managers, coaches are successful at Brighton because of their system. It's rigid and all about analytics and stats. What I've been saying. Infamy. They haven't been keeping up with the Duolingo sessions. That's why there's so much miscommunication in the squad. 115, Anthos, mate, have a good night. And thank you for joining in. Much appreciated. B Gaines. Sullivan, all his talk about having a manager with Premier League experience is crap. Look at Liverpool, Brighton, Bournemouth. Anything better than so. I agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It is a bit of a cop-out. Brian, Stell, the election here in the States tomorrow is basically live voting for Moyes or Lopetegui to run West Ham for the rest of the year. Will you guys allow me to move over there? Absolutely, mate. Come over. You're more than welcome. Gary, I'm looking forward to being, and then you'll see how shit it is over here too. Gary, I'm looking forward to being done with the election still. I'm tired of everyone. I think it's fun, because it takes our minds off the shit show that we've got over here. Still, Montana, will Tim be allowed to pick the next manager? He was involved. I'm not letting Tim get away with being exonerated from any blame at all. Colin, still, the second team is what I think Loppy. Oh, okay. Thank you, mate. Andrew, Ings seems like a great guy, but he really isn't the answer. One of a number of players in our squad that should have been moved on ages ago. I agree. Should never have bought him in the first place. Matt, Trump 2024, common sense. Don't know about that, mate. And let's finish off with that, shall we? Thank you all. I'm done. 2 hours and 17 minutes, one of the longest shows I've done for a while. I'm not going to put those last 2 comments on. That's politics. Let's not get involved. Well, actually, I find it fun, but it shouldn't be because it affects all of us. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for commenting. Thank you all for getting involved. Really much appreciated. I'm sure I'm going to be doing a few more shows this week, so look out for them. And in order to find out when I'm on next, you've got to become a subscriber, please, if you've yet to subscribe, and do hit that like button. Really appreciate your comments. Really appreciate the chat. It livens it up, doesn't it? It makes us a little bit sort of happier, I guess. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And I will see you all very soon.